Do you agree that Donald Trump tried to coup the country?
No.
Do you agree that Donald Trump tried to get 7 sets of electors to falsely attest that they were the electors representing their state legislatures to send in fake electoral votes for the January 6th certification?
I don't know.
Okay, well, he did. He had been told multiple times. He'd been on calls with Raffensperger going over the Georgia videos. By the way, we know now because a year ago, Giuliani basically lost that court case because he said it was his First Amendment right to lie about it. That entire thing was built on lies and fabricated videos from OAN. Everybody knows it. Everybody knew that mail-in ballots were going to heavily favor the Democrats. That's why Donald Trump and the rest of the Republican Party didn't spend a single breath on trying to say how we could make mail-in ballots safer before the election. That's why they just tried to get them all shut down. That's why the 63 court cases that Donald Trump's campaign launched didn't allege voter fraud, like people lie and say they did. They just attacked the states on processes and procedures. That's why there was leaked audio of Steve Bannon saying Trump is going to call the election on this night because he knows that if the count continues, that he's going to end up losing. And that's what he tried to do.
What Trump's going to do is just declare victory, right? He's going to declare victory. That doesn't mean he's the winner. He's just going to say he's the winner.
Do you think that the Earth is round or flat?
I don't believe this Earth's a spinning globe.
Yeah, so you're kind of like, yeah, I'm not like a big Trump guy, but Kamala is so bad that I'd take Trump as an alternative.
Yeah. Like in the question, who's better for America? It's a no-brainer.
If that has to be, like if you're not, as long as you can make the case that Trump is a good choice,
Yeah.
even if it's in lieu of, an alleged lack of choice on the other side.
No, yeah, my primary argument won't be like, oh, Kamala's bad. Like I can defend Trump. Like as in he's good. Comparably.
You know what the funny? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Nah, you're good. You're good.
The funny thing is, it's so hard to find people that will come in and be like, "Yeah, I'm going to make the case for Trump." They just, and it sounds like you're willing to do that in part. Like you're willing to say, like, "Hey, there's some good redeemable qualities or whatever." But yeah, a lot of times it's just really hard. A lot of people are just like, "I don't know. Don't ask me."
I think my primary criticisms for Trump, Destiny would think are good things. So in that sense, we just staunchly disagree on the situation.
Yeah, I read you loud and clear. Let's do a quick sound test. Witsit, if you can do a quick 1, 2, 3 for me.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wow, hello, what's
Hey.
up? Hello.
Excellent. Okay, cool.
Can you hear my baby crying?
Not at all.
Nice. We're good.
And yeah. All right, I'm going to start the stream. Should be good, and then we'll be off to the races. In 3, 2, 1, ready, set. Here I go. Hey, everybody. Today we're debating Harris versus Trump, and we are starting right now with Stephen's opening statement defending Harris. Thanks for being with us, Stephen. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, I think the choice between Trump and Harris is super obvious and super easy. I would imagine that as president, Harris is probably going to continue most of the policies that Biden did in his administration. Biden was very good getting bipartisan legislation passed. I think Biden had a much more cohesive long-term goal and plan for foreign policy than Donald Trump did. And I think that the rhetoric that comes out of the Democratic Party right now is tethered to reality and not unbelievably unhinged. It's not rebellious or treasonous like it is on the Trump side of things. I think that Trump pretty undeniably tried to coup the government, and that coup ran alongside a failed insurrection on January 6th. I think that there's almost no possible saving fact or thing that Trump could do that could save him from that reality. It's very hard to imagine unless maybe there was also somebody that tried to do a coup on the Democratic side that maybe I would have to compare two, rebellious candidates to each other. But it's a very, very, very simple question. Unless for some reason you would support, somebody who would try to circumvent rule of law in order to topple the government of the United States.
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening. Let me just make a quick adjustment. I feel like my audio might not be coming through. 2 seconds. We are going to, folks, there it is. Okay, thanks for your patience, folks. We're going to make it into the opening statement from Austin as well. But first, I want to say, folks, thanks for being with us. Welcome to Modern Day Debate. I'm your host, James. Don't forget to check out our guests linked below in the description box. We appreciate them being here. Austin, thanks very much. The floor is all yours for your opening as well.
Yeah, thank you, man. So yeah, I feel pretty much the exact opposite. The coup would actually be the fact that Kamala's even a candidate right now. I mean, she received no votes. So She ended with 3% in the presidential, primary anyway. But beyond that, the major factors, I look at it pretty simply. There are like basic things you have to do as a bare minimum to run a country. One of them would be secure your country. And the border is an absolute disaster. And Trump says very clearly and has said so with his actions as well that he will at least secure the border. The Biden campaign got in immediately. The administration stopped the deportation. She wants to give illegal immigrants tax-funded health care. She's for mandatory gun buybacks. So it says Congress shall make no law. And she says, oh, I will take executive action to take guns. So Trump's pro Second Amendment, seemingly pro First Amendment, and wants to secure our border. And then, of course, there's many other variables, but on a very basic level, it's not even really a question. And of course, also the economy with inflation being insane, and then Kamala, whatever, asks about inflation, she just starts stuttering incoherently, avoiding the question. She hasn't even articulated policy. I don't even know how you could defend that she would be good. She hasn't even said what her policies or stances are, and she's walking them all back. So that's basically how I feel. Trump says he'll put America first, brought domestic manufacturing back, stands for the Second Amendment, defends our border, all basic requirements of running a country. So
Thanks very much for that opening as well. We'll kick it into the open dialogue. Folks, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button as we have many more debates coming up in the future. You don't want to miss them. With that, thanks very much. Gentlemen, the floor is all yours for open dialogue.
Sure. Do you agree that Donald Trump tried to coup the country?
no.
Do you agree that Donald Trump tried to get 7 sets of electors to falsely attest that they were the electors representing their state legislatures to send in fake electoral votes for the January 6th certification?
I don't know.
Okay, well, he did. It's not contested. When he was saying we need Pence to do the right thing on January 6th before he sent the riot in the direction of the Capitol building, do you know what he was telling Pence to do?
He actually said to peacefully protest. And I've heard you discuss it. You know that he said that. So, but like, as opposed to the speculation about how he indirectly had something to do with January 6th, when he's publicly on the record disavowed the actions of January 6th, right? And he said to peacefully protest. Like, the arguments should be about what's going to happen. What are the promises? And I just named some pretty basic things I think are significantly more important than speculatively divining the true intentions of Trump regarding January 6th.
Sure. So in the weeks leading up to it, when over 20 times Donald Trump retweeted or tweeted things that included the hashtag Stop the Steal, when he was saying things like be there, it will be wild, when he's saying things like the cavalry is coming, there's a big protest rally in D.C., we are going to hashtag Stop the Steal, we've got 11 other senators to delay the certification or not certify the election. What do you think he's talking about there?
Protesting.
Why would you need 11 senators to help you protest?
More of a substantial voice and representation to bring attention to it. You're insinuating he wanted the senators to break in?
No, I'm not. Hold on. I'm not insinuating. I'm just telling you openly what he was saying. So he's talking about Cruz, Johnson, Langford, Daines, Kennedy, Blackburn, Brom, Loomis, Marshall, Haggerty, and Tuberville, who all joined Hawley, who were 12 GOP senators that said they'd be voting against the certification of the vote for Biden in the Electoral College on January 6th. He wanted the senators to not certify the election. He wanted Pence to declare Trump the winner, and he wanted the protests to hold Pence and the senators accountable. And that's why he sent them to the Capitol to go and riot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, he thought it was stolen, and I know that you disagree with that, but that's not really the point. Anyone that can tie their shoes would have reasonably suspected that something sketchy happened when the first time in like seemingly American history, we have the counts pause in the middle of the night with Trump clearly heading towards a substantial victory. And we wake up and come to the TV in the morning and the blue line shoots straight up. Anyone reasonably, whether you think it was stolen or not, would be like, this is sketchy. This doesn't really add up. And so that's reasonable for him to think it was stolen. Certainly with a bunch of the other evidence. He didn't call for violence. He didn't call for people to go in there.
Yeah, if you thought that the election was stolen, then what would you do?
That's a good question. What do you do?
You try
I
to
mean,
coup
maybe
the
try to
government.
get-
That's what you're saying. If you think the election was stolen from you and you think you've got proof that it was stolen, but the courts, your DOJ, Congress, and everybody's betraying you, then you would try to steal the election back. That's a coup. You're justifying a coup right now.
No. Wait. Let me ask you: if an election actually was stolen, what would you do?
An insurrection.
So you're saying you would actually call for an insurrection.
If you think that an election is actually being stolen by the government, yeah. How do you think America came about? It was a rebellion. It was an insurrection into a rebellion against the British. Yeah.
So you would have actually been more aggressive and seemingly violent, since you just brought up America's origin, than Trump was. There is substantial evidence, certainly at the time, that was unanswered, that would imply that the election wasn't completely on the up and up, right? Just the fact that it randomly changed directions overnight. So I think you just refuted your own argument. You're saying Trump was actually somewhat like passive.
No, I didn't
Right.
refute my own argument at all, and Trump wasn't passive. That speech
was.
that he gave that day was about an hour and a half. One time during that speech, he said that I know you guys will be marching peacefully. The entire rest of the speech, he recounted false instances of voter fraud that had been unproved, or disproved over and over and over again by his own administration, by people in other states, by people in his campaign, by people
Not
in the
at
media.
that time, though.
Yes,
right?
it had
Not at
been.
that-
Yep, it had been. He had been told multiple times. He'd been on calls with Raffensperger going over the Georgia videos. By the way, we know now because a year ago, Giuliani basically lost that court case because he said it was his First Amendment right to lie about it. That entire thing was built on lies and fabricated videos from OAN. Everybody knows it. Trump knew it at the time. He'd already had calls with Raffensperger about it. In that speech, over and over and over again, he's saying Mike Pence needs to step up and do the right thing. He's saying that the election is being stolen from us. Quote, all of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. What's going to happen if you go to protest?
You just agreed with that. You just agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, but there was no
So
theft.
you're just saying he was.
But hold on,
okay,
I'm justifying.
he was wrong.
I'm justifying an insurrection. Yeah, he was wrong in doing the insurrection. I agree. Yes.
No, you're saying he was wrong thinking it was stolen, right? I mean, and there are many things about this, right? Like who all was voting. Like you seemed, I know you're definitely going to claim it's all for sure been proven that there was nothing sketchy, but to this day, they're still trying to get illegals to be counted as voting and all that. But basically, to summarize this, we're going to agree, disagree. I think that he could have maybe in retrospect watched his words a bit more. You're literally just saying he implied that people should do some type of
He
forcible
didn't imply.
insurrection.
He knew what was going to happen. The quote, like you can
You're
listen to the
that-
speech. We will
you're
not let them
defining his
silence
thought.
their voices. We're not going to let it happen. I'm not going to let it happen. The audience begins chanting, "Fight for Trump! Fight for Trump!" He says, "Thank you." Like, what do you?
Like, you're divining his thoughts. Like there are many different things that you could do, right? Try to get it heard by the Supreme Court, et cetera, et cetera.
He
But
did. It was shot down.
I know that's funny because I'm sure you'd be the same person to turn around and talk about how corrupt the Supreme Court is and how they're
That
so
has nothing to do with what we
conservative and how
just
they're
said.
so pro-Trump.
I
No,
do think that the
I'm
Supreme
just-
Court has made mistakes, but that doesn't mean that I think that you should rebel against the country. There are things that people in government
Okay,
do, and
okay.
even justices in the Supreme Court do. I don't think that means you have to do an insurrection or rebellion.
Okay, so we disagree on this, right? I don't think he called for violence. He objectively didn't. You're divining his thoughts. You said, quote unquote, he knows what he was doing. That's what you think. So your main argument as to why Trump, like Kamala, is better than Trump is that Trump supposedly tried to cause an insurrection. So do you have anything else? We can agree to disagree on that. I don't agree. I think that the election was sketchy. Right. I think anyone being honest would say, yeah, it was sketchy at the time. And I know that when you first saw it, you thought it was sketchy because it was clearly headed in one direction and then overnight it changed.
Everybody
So
knew. You know that everybody knew that was going to happen, right?
everyone knew that the blue line was going to shoot straight up when for the first time in history.
Everybody knew that
putting
mail-in
balls
ballots
on
were going to
banners.
heavily favor the Democrats. That's why Donald Trump and the rest of the Republican Party didn't spend a single breath on trying to say how we could make mail-in ballots safer before the election. That's why they just tried to get them all shut down. That's why the 63 court cases that Donald Trump's campaign launched didn't allege voter fraud, like people lie and say they did. They just attacked the states on processes and procedures. It's because they knew that the mail-in ballots were always going to favor Democrats because Republicans didn't care about showing up and voting in person, and Democrats more likely to vote via mail-in ballots. His own campaign manager and Bernie Sanders, like even on the news the day before, was saying, yeah, at night we expect the vote counts to change. That's why there was leaked audio of Steve Bannon saying Trump is going to call the election on this night because he knows that if the count continues, that he's going to end up losing. And that's what he tried to do. He went in front of the cameras on the election night and he said, let's stop the count. It's over. We're glad we won. But Pence disagreed and he came out. Yeah.
Well, but this debate's not about that. So your argument is that Trump lost the 2020 election. He's a sore loser, and that he thought it was stolen.
No,
and
that's
he
not my
tried.
argument. My argument is he tried to coup the country and he used an insurrection to further that coup attempt.
That's what you're saying, and your primary staple of that argument is that he knew what he was doing, and that that he would actually implied, and he knew that people would go violently
Yep.
try to take over the government without directly saying it.
Correct.
That's cool, man. Agree to disagree. I don't. You're literally having to speculate and divine his thoughts. But what I said in my opener is much more pertinent to the question, which is Kamala or Trump better for America? And like, let's just start there. First of all, do you think that illegal immigrants should be able to vote in this upcoming election?
No, I guess not. But like the Republicans don't even believe in the results of the last election, so we can't even begin to talk about the election until we agree that the last one even happened and was real. So if we think that if Donald Trump, I'm not deflecting, we can't talk about 2024 until we acknowledge that Republicans don't even think 2020 was real. So when you ask me questions about whether or not illegals have voted, I don't care. I don't know. They don't even believe the last election results. Why would I think they would believe the next ones?
Hasty generalization fallacy, right? Most Republicans now feel content that it wasn't specifically stolen because it supposedly went through the legal proper procedure of checking it. And we literally are actually debating 2024. And so when you said that illegal immigrants shouldn't vote, that you're disavowing the stance of the position of the side that you're defending, while they're actively trying to make sure that they get IDs or the ability to vote as illegal immigrants. And you agree that would effectively steal an election when you could get up to maybe 20 million votes that shouldn't be counted. So you are against that, for the record.
So as of August 3rd, 2023, 70% of Republicans felt like the last election was stolen. So whatever you just said, I don't know what kind of fallacy you want to call it. We can call it the fallacy of just telling straight up lies, but you have no source for that the majority of Republicans believe the last election was legitimate, because it's not true. They don't. They think it was still stolen. If 20 million illegals were to vote, I don't think any illegal immigrant should vote in a federal election. I'm pretty sure that Congress prohibits that explicitly. However, I'm more worried about the president that's actually trying to steal the election during the electoral certification than I am about random people on Twitter saying that illegal immigrants should be able to vote.
He didn't see. The truth is, there are a million things that with executive power prior to leaving office, he could have done to actually do an insurrection. He literally had power of the military. He did not call for any of that. He did not use any of his executive power. You're saying he could have chose his words better. He literally put out a tweet saying, be peaceful, and reminded them. The tweet allegedly ended up getting deleted. And he, in all of his speeches, he specifically says to remain peaceful, and we are the side of law and order. But regardless of that, this isn't a January 6th debate. The question is, who's better for America? If your only argument is that you think Trump was a sore loser, or that he basically guided people into an insurrection, right, and didn't accept the result, you're calling it a coup, whatever. So basically you're saying you would let America completely collapse and fall apart because you think that Trump didn't take the results of the election the right way. That's
no,
your
it's
argument?
because Donald Trump tried to lead an insurrection and coup into a full-on rebellion in the country. That would be why. If we're going to talk about like election fraud, or if we're going to talk about the integrity of the election, we're going to talk about somebody who refused the election results and who tried to commit fraud at the highest level by having people falsely claim that they were the duly appointed electors in their state, and to try to pressure his vice president, as he did over 6 times in that speech that he gave on January 6th, into choosing him as the president unilaterally. That was the entire point of saying Pence wanted to. I understand. Yes, you're giving the justification for why he thought he could do an insurrection/coup.
You gave that justification.
No, when you say he thought it was stolen, that's yes, he agrees it was stolen. That's why he wanted Vice President Pence to choose him as the president. And when you talk about how he could have used his executive power. Yeah, but it wasn't stolen. It wasn't stolen, though. And Trump knew it wasn't stolen. That's the thing. Because Trump repeated lies. That's not an opinion. Trump, we can ascertain states of mind all the time. It happens in criminal court. What do you think mens rea is? How do you think we convict on any criminal crime ever? You do it by ascertaining a person's state of mind.
That's right. You establish intent.
Exactly.
And you think that you've established intent because he had a conversation with some people, and you think that by that time he had already seen the footage and should have known. I disagree. I think he still to this day thinks it was sketchy. He thinks that the whole system's against him. Whether or not that's true or not, whether or not these courts are shutting it down and stifling it, whether or not the Supreme Court was righteous and or justified in not seeing it, who knows? That's a whole different debate, right? But the point is, you're claiming Trump knew that he lost and he was a sore loser and he wanted to overthrow the government. I disagree. I think he believed that the election wasn't legitimate under your own admission. If that is the case, if he truly believed there was something sketchy going on with the election, he was justified in everything he did. And you said you would have done more. You said you would have been more aggressive. You would absolutely call for insurrection. He never directly did that. But I would like to talk about the fact that regardless of what happened in the past, our country is about to have an election, right? We have massive illegal immigration. It's a major problem. And we have a side who says they want mass amnesty and citizenship. We have a side pushing for them to be able to vote. And we have a side that immediately halted deportation of illegal immigrants. That is a major problem. Look at what's happening in Europe. It's literally the fastest way to destroy a country throughout all of history. That's way more pertinent than the fact that you think Trump was a sore loser or that you think that Trump knew it wasn't stolen. Don't you agree?
I never
that's
said
more
that Trump was a sore
relevant?
loser, that Trump, like, it is known that Trump knew that the election wasn't stolen. He was told by every single person in his administration. It's the reason why Barr resigned, by the way. You mentioned, well, he would have used his executive power. He tried to. He tried to get Barr to send out fake letters attesting to election fraud, even though there was no evidence of election fraud. When Barr left, he tried to bully his next DOJ Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General, Rosen and Donahue, into also sending out fake letters. And when that didn't work, he was going to fire them and make Clark, who was like the head of the environmental division of the DOJ, he was going to make that guy the attorney general because Clark said he'd do it until half his DOJ threatened to quit if he would have done it. So Donald Trump did try to use his executive power. When you talk about calling for the military, he also, you know, when people's, he did try to use the National Guard. He mentioned offhandedly in a conversation to Milley, he did. This is what all the Republicans say when they say Trump did ask for the National Guard. He said, maybe we need 10,000 people there to protect my people. But since he's an idiot and he doesn't know how the process of government works and he doesn't know how to put an official request or anything, that was just brought up in a conversation and then it was dropped. Trump initially wanted to tag along with his, I know it sucks, but like when you have a guy that's trying to overthrow the government, it's not, none of this is what did I just say that was speculation?
You said that he would have for sure done it, but he couldn't because he's so incompetent and doesn't know how things work. You just made that up. It's literally the definition of speculation. But beyond that, the quote you said was to protect his people. My point is that he literally had the power of the military. So if you're talking about like he actually tried to overthrow the government coup, you're talking about some like third world communist regime, you would use the military to forcibly stay in office. He did nothing anywhere close to that. He didn't even tell people to go in there. He disavowed it. He's disavowed it since. So that this is, but my point is like,
just to be clear, that I'm not just making that up.
Then you're just
the
basically
quote
tapping
is,
out if that's your only point.
The president's advisors tried to talk him out of it. White House senior advisor Max Miller shut it down immediately because of concerns about the president's safety. Pearson agreed, but President Trump was persistent and he floated the idea of having 10,000 National Guardsmen deployed to protect him and his supporters from any supposed threats by left-wing counter-protesters. Miller again rejected the president. Yeah, correct. Yes, there's insurrectionists.
It's not the same as using it. You understand that you could use the military to like not let them take you out of office. But are you afraid of the illegal immigration question?
Not as afraid as I am of insurrectionists marching onto Capitol Hill to try to stop the certification of the vote against a president that's trying to remain entrenched in power by falsely attesting that people had voted for him in states when they didn't, by falsely attesting to voter fraud having occurred that he knows didn't occur, and by doing everything he can to hold on to power and destroy the country. Yeah, I'm more concerned about that.
I think you're afraid. Like, luckily, we found out that our system's set up in such a way that even if the president thinks that it's actually stolen, whatever the results are, that's what happens. So, cool. The biggest threat has seemingly already been nullified, and we've seen that your biggest argument, the biggest threat supposedly that Trump is, doesn't actually do anything. Good thing we live in America where we have checks and balances and all kinds of systems, and actually you're exaggerating via hyperbole and divining of his intentions and thoughts anyway. So let's go back to 2024 is an election. We have Kamala. You want to talk about a coup? She didn't receive any votes. She did. It was abysmal. She ended with 3%. So she wasn't chosen by anybody. She didn't get any votes. Talk about a coup. Pretend that Biden's in good standing and she's defended his mental capacity this entire time. And then conveniently he drops out and she's the president. No one voted. Talk about a coup. That's literally an that's not a representation of any people. Who chose her?
Yeah, so when we talk about like coup, Kamala Harris and Biden have followed the DNC process exactly. There is no coup here. It doesn't even make sense to call it a coup, considering that the DNC is not the government. It's a private political party, and they're allowed to run their primary process as they see fit. If Americans don't want to vote for Kamala come general election time, they have every right to do that. But no coup has occurred. The DNC is not the government. When you talk about securing the border, I do think that securing the border and shoring up things like the asylum-seeking process are really important. That's why the Democrats and Biden tried to pass a bill. Lankford, the Republican bill from the Senate, tried to pass a bill shoring up border security. Donald Trump shot it down publicly because he wanted to keep the border open and keep America unsafe and keep illegal immigrants pouring in so that he would have something to run on when the election rolled around. If Trump wanted to fix the border or secure the border, why didn't he do it with the 4 years that he was in office? In 4 years, he built 50 miles of wall and he wasn't able, it was brought up solo, but Republicans shot it down. Ted Cruz and other Republicans are publicly speaking about this. McConnell's talking, none of this is a surprise. None of this is a conspiracy. None of this is a secret. Donald Trump shot it down because he wanted to keep the border open and he wanted to keep illegal immigrants immigrants flowing into the country so that he would have an issue to run on when the 2024 election came around. So if you're for border security, I don't know why I would vote for the guy that had 4 years to fix the border, got zero legislation passed, sent the military down with executive order, by the way, and built 50 miles of border wall without getting any of the money from Mexico that he asked for. So on both of those issues, Donald Trump would be an absolute failure. And then once more, going back to the security of the vote, none of the stuff that I've alleged, by the way, about Donald Trump trying to overthrow the election, none of that is false. That's why when Donald Trump went to the Supreme Court, he wasn't arguing that he had the right to do that. He was arguing for criminal immunity. That's why when Rudy Giuliani has shown up in court cases, he said, I lied, but it's my First Amendment right to lie. And and the idea that checks and balances work, it wasn't checks and balances. It was individual people. It was bureaucrats. It was people like Mike Pence. That's why Donald Trump has chosen a vice president now, J.D. Vance, who says that if Donald Trump tried the same thing, he would go along with the plot next time.
All right, let's try to have a productive conversation. So your position there, your argument was that Trump didn't, stamp a bill that would have helped and the Republicans stifled it, and that it was a tactical maneuver to win the election, to have something to run on, which makes sense, right? Like, okay, the border still needs to be saved, whatever. These are the facts, though. He started a deportation campaign of people who illegally entered our country, who have no respect for our culture. It is the quickest, most proven way to destroy a country. And the first thing that the Biden administration did was stop the mass deportations. Now Kamala is on record multiple times advocating for mass amnesty. So the question is, all the people that broke the law, that came in here, that have no respect for American culture, that are mooching off of us, do you think it is a good our policy to give them tax-funded health care when Americans can't even pay for groceries right now, and to quit the deportation of the illegal immigrants, and then to try to even allow them to vote? Do you support those policies, which are Kamala's policies? That's the question.
I don't support illegal immigration. That's why it's illegal. I think that we should figure out what to do with illegal immigrants that are here. However, I've heard for over a decade from conservatives that it was going to be illegal immigrants that would destroy the country. I've heard that it was going to be Muslims. I've heard that it was going to be Mexicans. I've heard that it was going to be MS-13 gangs. But when January 6th rolled around, it was conservatives led by an insurrectionist president who was trying to coup the government, who was trying to entrench his power, who was trying to abuse government at every single level in order to do it. I didn't see Mexicans do that. I didn't see Muslims do that.
Deflection. So you are saying that you are against illegal immigration. So then are you saying that if someone is able to break the law successfully and get in here, then they're good? As long as they're able to break the law without being caught initially, then they should be allowed to stay in here, been given mass amnesty and citizenship, and then they shouldn't be deported? Is that your argument? Do you support that?
I think as a policy, sure. How is it logical? Because deporting, it's the only way to deal with the illegal immigrants that are already here. The idea of deporting 11, 10, 12, 13 million illegal immigrants, however they're here, is completely and totally fantastical. The only reason people say that is because they know it'll never happen, so they never have to actually pass a real policy to deal with what's going on here. A much more sensible thing would be to provide some kind of road to at least like residency for people that are nonviolent offenders. If you've got people here that they're willing to work, why the fuck would you do some mass deportation campaign when unemployment is already as low as it is, when they're already contributors to the economy? That's fine, I guess. So did all the people on January 6th.
You just said it was unacceptable and you don't agree with illegal immigration. Now you're saying, well, as long as they break the law and get away with it, then we should keep them here. And they were already deporting people, and the Biden administration halted deportation.
Wasn't breaking the law and getting away with it what you said about Trump when you said the guardrails held, when you said that the system ended up saving it so that things didn't happen? I didn't say that they should necessarily get away with it. If you want to fine them, that's fine. I just don't think deportation is the correct choice. I think it's worse for them and it's worse for us. And it's worse for Mexico.
How's it worse for us?
Because every single study that's ever come out looking at the economic productivity of illegal immigrants generally points to them being like very productive people. Obviously, most of them come here to work. So workers are like one of your best productive inputs to your economy. And fiscal impacts on illegal immigrants, believe it or not, tend to also be positive because they're usually working. So
you do support mass amnesty for illegal immigrants, and you support the halting of the deportation.
I don't know if I would say mass amnesty. I think that having a reasonable... I don't think anybody is for mass amnesty. That's a very one-dimensional way of looking at that problem. I think that if you want to solve the issue with having undocumented people in your country, you probably have to put them on some kind of reasonable road to at least residency. It doesn't have to be citizenship, but at least residency.
Yeah, the road south, back home.
How has that worked out for the Republican Party for the last 20 years? Was Bush able to do it? Was Trump able to do it?
No, all politicians just say they're going to do stuff and don't do it. That's a different comment. The point that we're talking about.
Okay, well, wait. Then Trump tried to do it and he wasn't able to. Who was the biggest deporter of all time? It was Obama. So why wouldn't I choose his VP or his VP's VP? Biden would have a much better time doing it than Trump would.
They're openly stating they halted deportation as soon as they got in the office. That argument makes no sense. Obama, because his VP, well, he's not doing the same thing. He halted deportation. First thing they did And they're now saying they want mass amnesty and citizenship, and now they're trying to let them vote. So basically, it's this simple. This actually is the whole debate. That is no longer America. America's not even under the control of Americans. It's other people going to come in here that don't respect my culture, can't even speak this language half the time. Half of them actually are criminals. People, it is not some Trump talking point or Republican talking point that people get released from jail and come here. That's a real thing. People are coming here with no respect for our culture, trying to change it to where they came from, getting free health care, and we're just going to sit back and be like, oh, well, let's just give them citizenship and let them vote in our election. That is insane. That is basically the quickest way to destroy a country. It's literally happening in Europe right now, right?
I don't know what European immigration and American immigration have absolutely nothing to do with each other. I'm pretty sure Biden is on track to have more people deported than Trump did. Trump was president for 4 years. He didn't get rid of the illegal immigrants. Why would you think he's going to do it next time?
What do you mean? They halted the deportation.
You don't think we've deported anybody under Biden? Do you think that's true?
No. The point was that there was an actual system that was currently in place that was building to deport people more and more, and they halted it as soon as they got in. So you agree that illegals should be deported?
I don't. There's that sentence is too simplistic. Pretty sure Biden had one of the largest deportation years since 2010. This was the 12 months after the year after Title 42 ended. Biden has deported a ton of people. Trump was president for 4 years and he didn't deport as many people as he needed to. So why would you think he's going to do it next time? Nothing you're saying is true. Like everything you're saying is not true.
Everything
right?
I'm saying is true. It's easily verifiable.
What's a verifiable thing?
That she's advocating for mass amnesty and citizenship, and that they immediately halted deportation. And this is what else is also funny is she was rated like the most liberal, like the furthest left out of all senators, right? And so now she hasn't even answered one media question in like, what is it, like the 2 weeks since she's been named, and they're trying to distance her from all.
Wait. Show me. Let's find a thing. Where did Kamala Harris say that she was for mass amnesty?
I saw a video of it earlier. Her saying that that the way forward is that whoever's already here should be integrated into citizenship. And you agree that is going to destroy our country, because if someone knows they can just get here, as long as they break the law well enough to get here, then they're good. Then she also advocates for taxpayer funded health care for the
just on this
immigrants.
first thing. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if I even believe that's true. I see a New York Post story. I don't know if this is what you read. Elizabeth Warren said that we need comprehensive immigration reform, which would include a pathway to citizenship. And she said that Kamala Harris will work with Congress to try to get this done. But has Kamala Harris ever said this? Or are you just going by extreme progressive Elizabeth Warren? Has Kamala Harris said that she wants mass amnesty for all illegal immigrants?
Yeah. It's either the Biden administration or Kamala directly. And I'll also say this.
Wait. Then why didn't the Biden administration do mass amnesty? Biden has been president for 4 years. Where's the mass amnesty at?
Good question. That's what they said they're going to do.
Then it sounds like it's not a worry then, right?
Well, I guess the first step would be to stop.
So if Trump said he was going to fix the border and he didn't, if the Biden administration said they're going to do mass deportations and they didn't, it seems like, oh, okay, I guess I'd just stick with the Biden administration then, or Kamala Harris.
Well, I guess this is the point. They're making promises. I think we both agree that politicians always just say things and make promises, right? And you can almost never really take them at their word.
No, I mean, I think I can take the Democrats at their word. The thing is, Biden never said he was going to do mass amnesty. They never said that. That's why. They tried to secure the border. That's why they tried to pass legislation to do it. The only people that didn't do it, that stood opposed to it, were Donald Trump. And you said earlier that it was reasonable that he would make America a less safe place. You agree that you said that Donald Trump keeping the border open made sense for his election policy, right? You think that's an okay
I'm saying
thing?
I said your argument made sense. I would never advocate for doing that. I don't know how true it is. You're acting like he directly said.
He did directly say that. Yes, every single Republican
said, let's keep the border open so that I can run on it.
Correct. Yep. That's why Ted Cruz and other people opposed the bill before they even read it. And then there's literally open statement. Langford is on CNN and Fox News complaining about it because it was his bill. It was a Republican bill. Yes.
If that's true, obviously I disagree with it.
Oh, okay. So you agree that Trump was bad on the border. You agree that Trump was trying to hurt America with illegal immigrants to win an election?
Well, no, I think if they stonewall through Congress all the way up until the moment before the election, and then they know that they're just trying to give like a half-ass like remedy to the border because they wanted to do so for the election, it was a tactical maneuver to hold stonewall Stonewall till the end. And I don't even know what was on that bill. I heard that it was actually, you said it was a singular issue. I heard that the bill was like not satisfactory and it was basically an election maneuver on their behalf. So then they were like, no, we're not just going to bail out last minute and take whatever you give us when you've been stonewalling us this whole time. But
to be clear, it wasn't a bailout. It wasn't a last minute.
You're disavowing all of their policies. You're
no,
saying
no one.
disagree with
These
mass
aren't real
amnesty.
policies. These aren't real policies. None of what you're saying is real. There is no Democrat. That's why when I debated Prager a week ago and I said, who's for open borders? Who is for any of this stuff? He had no answer because there is nobody that talks about mass amnesty. It's just not true. It's a total fabrication. That's why, again, the Democrats in Congress and Biden all supported a bill to shore up the asylum process and to shore up border security, and Donald Trump destroyed it. This bill was Lankford's bill from the Senate. He was a GOP. This is a Republican guy. He is on Fox News complaining about the fact that the bill got shot down by Donald Trump. Donald Trump told people. McConnell's on record saying it. Ted Cruz is on record saying it. So Donald Trump wanted to keep the border more porous. He wanted more illegal immigrants to come in, and he wanted to hurt the security of this country to keep it open for a year to run an election?
Dude, that's what you're saying, and if that's true, I said that I obviously disagree with that. But he objectively is the one that went and started building a wall. He objectively started mass deportations. That's a fact. And then Biden came in and stopped. Biden came in and stopped the deportations. That's also a fact. And this is what's you have a. I was going to say it's an indefensible position, but actually it's very convenient in a way because Kamal hasn't even stated any of actual policies. So you can just speculate what you think, and you can say, oh, that's not it, whenever she's made very clear statements about these things, about how illegals should have a road to citizenship, about how this side or this administration is constantly implied that they should be able to vote once they get an ID, because that's the only requirement. They want them to get IDs.
You can't. That's literally, it's against the law to do that. You can't do that. Congress doesn't allow illegal aliens to vote in states for.
If they get an
elections.
ID, they can vote.
No, they can't.
Right?
That's not true. That's not how the law works. No, that's
okay. So you also disavow that. You disavow any illegals being able to vote in our election.
That's the current law. Nobody supports that.
Well, there are people on the left that say
nobody supports that. I can't speak to every random on Twitter, but Kamala Harris doesn't support that. There are no Democratic lawmakers in Congress that support that.
There are literal places even in the U.S. right now that you can go get an ID if you're an illegal.
Getting an ID doesn't mean that you can vote in a federal election.
Well, okay, you say that. So I'm just the point.
I don't just say that. That's a fact. That's just true. Having an ID doesn't mean that you can vote in an election.
I agree you're not supposed to be able to vote. So I just want to make sure we agree. So let's say Elizabeth Warren's wrong, and when she says that Kamala's going to help with the amnesty, she's wrong. And whenever they allude to the idea that we shouldn't be deporting it, and their actions speak for themselves, they stopped the deportation that was in place, right? That somehow doesn't matter. You're saying no, it doesn't matter. So then we agree that if they're not going to deport the illegals, then that would be a detriment to our country. And if Trump promises to come in and deport the illegals, then that would be a win for the Trump side, right?
Trump already lost on immigration. He lost on the 4 years that he was here. He didn't get the wall built. He didn't even get joint approval from Congress to build the wall. That's why he had to use executive order in the military to try to build a little bit of it. He didn't get the wall built. He didn't manage to deport as many people as he promised. He was saved in his last year because he had COVID, so he could rely on Title 42 to basically block the border. That's the only reason his numbers were as good as
Democrats
they were.
stonewalled the wall. Everyone knows that.
It doesn't matter. Well, why you can blame Democrats for everything, but the whole point of a president is you're supposed to be able to come together. If you want to talk about stonewalling, then what you would say is McConnell, during Obama's 8 years in office, literally said, we are going to block every single possible thing that Obama tries to do. That's what McConnell said. That's why we have a 6-3 Supreme Court. That's fine if you do, but that's why we have a 6-3 Supreme Court. The idea that Democrats are stonewalling everything that Trump wants to do,
I didn't say that.
Republicans had a majority in the Senate and the House. Donald Trump couldn't get his party aligned on anything because he's a bad leader. And the idea that deportation stopped under Biden is also just not true. You can go and read anything by Cato. Migration policy, quote, in the 12 months after Title 42 ended, the Biden administration ramped up deportations under the standard U.S. immigration framework, Title 8, and removed or returned 775,000 unauthorized migrants, more than in any previous fiscal year since 2010. So the idea that deportation stopped is just not true. You're just making it up.
No. It's a fact that they halted the deportation program. One of the first things they did when Biden got in office. That is a fact. But this is okay. So the point is, basically your argument is, oh, well, you actually think that Democrats are harder and Kamala is going to be harder on illegal immigration and be more efficient at stopping it. So then you would, by implication, by default, you're agreeing that if that's not the case, and if she comes out, because she hasn't even stated her policies, she hasn't even answered any questions. You have no idea what her policies are. You don't even know her VP or her policies. You don't actually know what you're defending. But the point
my
is, like,
guess would be she's probably going to have similar policies to her president that she was just in office with for 4 years. That'd be my guess. But I mean, like, she's literally just now the candidate. Hopefully they've got a comprehensive policy platform coming together before the convention. But the reality is in my opinion, they shouldn't even run on policy. Republicans don't run on policy. Conservatives don't care about policy. Trump doesn't even know what policy is. So I mean, like, why should they run on policy? It's all about calling people names and trying to prevent somebody from taking office that tried to coup the government. I think is probably the most important thing right now.
So we covered the illegal immigration, and you disavow the idea of mass amnesty or giving these people citizenship. You disavow illegal immigration. You don't just get a pass once you get in here. You agree that that can destroy our country.
I don't agree to any of that. No, I think the biggest threat to destroying our country right now are probably the anti-American MAGA people who don't believe in like core fundamental American values, don't believe in the Constitution, don't believe in our First Amendment right to freedom of speech or freedom of the press. These are the things that I think represent the biggest threat to America right now. I think the illegal immigrants probably need to be like tracked somehow, but yeah.
The left notoriously is more anti-free speech, although Republicans are starting to move that way. Disavow all of it. We talk about the Constitution, we talk about illegal immigration, and that's a big part of it. Obviously, there was no wall. Trump started getting a wall built. He was stonewalled by Congress, etc.
It was a Republican Congress. It was a Republican Congress. How is he stonewalled by his own Congress?
He couldn't get all the Republicans to agree, and
that's his fault. Then why is he going to get him to agree next time? If he couldn't do it the first time, then why is he going to do it the next time?
The point is. No,
answer that. How is he going to do it next? If he failed last time, when he had Republicans in the House and Senate, how is he going to do it next time? Why would you expect him to?
I would imagine surely people on his side would agree that this time they have to get their act together relative. I don't trust politicians. In fact, I think it's all theater. But
then we don't even have to. Okay, that's fine. Then nothing that you say matters. If you think it's all theater, then this debate is already over. I think I automatically win. If you think it's all theater, then nothing Trump says or does means anything. Nothing matters. Then that's fine. But then I win.
I heard you say that you agree that what politicians say don't actually matter.
I never said that what politicians said doesn't matter. What I said is you don't take them literally when they speak. You've got to look and see how they're speaking and what
politicians say, because they never actually mean what they say or keep their word. That's what you said.
I don't. What is that quote from?
I watched a video of you today saying that I don't actually listen to politics. I don't think politicians ever actually like tell the truth and mean what they say.
What is the am I even talking about American politicians here? Am I talking about Israel, Palestine? What was the context of that thing I said?
Yeah, that may have even been in the Shapiro discussion.
What was the context of the quote?
You said that in the Shapiro discussion.
Yes, you said that. What was the context of the quote? What were we talking about?
You guys were talking about the divisiveness of Trump and how and the rhetoric relative to Biden, et cetera, and then they start talking about you're talking about the actual words used and the comparison of how they talk, right? And do you hold them to the same standard? And then you said that you don't even take politicians for what they say to mean anything, but it doesn't even matter. I
think if you look up the source of that quote, I don't think that's what I said or implied. At the most, what I would have said.
Literally what you said.
At the most, I don't think so. Considering every other, you failed to source anything else. I don't think this is true. If I said anything, what I probably said is you might not listen to what a politician says and take them like 100% at their word. They could be keying on other things, but I mean, what politicians say matters. Even if they don't get the policies passed they want, what they say is still like relevant. It gives you an insight into what they're trying to do or who they're trying to appeal to.
Okay, so Trump wants to stop illegal immigration. It's a major threat to any sovereign society and historically has expedited the collapse of that society throughout all of history. You seem to agree with that. Well, it doesn't really seem that your side does. You couldn't even tell me what Kamala's true claim she's going to do is or whatever, because she hasn't said so. But I think maybe the most important part of all of this, and you brought up the Constitution, is her position on the Second Amendment. And she point blank says that she will use executive action to implement mandatory gun buybacks. Do you support that?
I wouldn't support that. I believe this is something she said years ago. I don't think she would do it now. The only recent president that I am aware of that tried to do any sort of like gun bans was under the Trump administration when they banned bump stocks. I think that the threats that Donald Trump represents to the First Amendment, for instance, when Republicans say we need to repeal Section 230 so they can essentially outlaw all social media, and when Donald Trump says things like I need to suspend the Constitution to find voter fraud, or when Donald Trump has said again, and he reiterated this from 4 or 5 years ago, that people that burn the flag should be arrested as a violation of our First Amendment rights, or when he says over and over again that the media is the enemy of the people, these I think are the real threats to freedom of speech in the First Amendment.
That was all deflection.
Yeah.
That was all deflection because you said your answer was your rebuttal was I think that was a while back. You mean when she was running for president, when she was trying to be president? That's what she said. She didn't say it 1 time, 2 times. She said it like 7 times.
Did Biden try to do a mandatory gun buyback?
Well, we're talking about Kamala right now.
She's his vice president. Why didn't Biden try to do the mandatory gun buyback?
Biden was just trying to get out of the bed. So
Biden didn't do anything? Why is it that Biden, who could barely get out of bed, passed more major legislation? Because he's the president right now and she's his vice president. I would imagine.
That's irrelevant. So who has the executive power, the decision of power of decision?
Well, I thought
Biden.
it
So
depends on
we're
who
gonna
you're
talk
talking
about
about, because
Kamala.
Republicans would say that Kamala's been running
You
the
know
country
this is
secretly for 3 or 4 years
indefensible.
anyway.
You're trying to get away. You know it's
There's nothing to
indefensible.
defend against. Your quotes are all fabricated. You're making everything up. You have
You want to
nothing.
read the exact quote from Kamala? You
Sure.
want
What
to read
is
the
what
exact quote?
is sure? What is the exact quote? When is it from? What is the context of the quote?
She's talking about guns, and she says that these are almost verbatim quotes. She said that she will use her executive power to ensure an assault weapon ban, and that she will be in favor of mandatory gun buybacks, and that if Congress doesn't put a bill on my desk within 100 days that does that, she will take executive action. She will use executive power to make it happen. And she said that repeatedly. That was her whole, she was like, she even brags that I'm the only one that has said that they will take executive action, that they will use executive power to take care of the assault weapons, as she calls them. So do you disavow that?
It sounds like Kamala's already disavowed it. So I guess I'd probably agree with her statements.
When?
now. So I'm bringing it up to try to find these quotes. So in the campaign in December of 2019, apparently she was very left when it came to guns, especially following George Floyd's death.
Oh, she had a
But
change
it
of
sounds
heart?
like, yeah. Do you think people's policies change or policy positions
So your
can change?
argument is, no, I think when someone's actually running for president and they tell you what they're going to do if they become president, we should probably take them to mean that, as opposed to the media running cover when she hasn't even given official statements since she was named.
I'm reading this
She
off
hasn't
of
answered-
Fox News. Why would they openly call for amnesty shamelessly, but they would hide their position on guns? Why would they do one and not the other? What part of what I just said did you not understand? You said earlier that she was openly calling for amnesty for all of the illegal immigrants, and now you're telling me that, well, she's just paying lip service to saying that she wants to ban.
Your argument's going to be the same for everything. Sure, she used to be really left, and she said all those things, but I don't think she would do that now. You can't even say she wouldn't do it now. She hasn't made official statements, so all we have to go based off of is what she said when she was running for president and did terrible and only got 3%, and now she's pretending that she's supposed to be president even though she's not duly elected and got no votes. Now we're going to go based off what she said. She said she's going to use executive action to literally, quote unquote, send people to your house to take your guns. Mandatory gun buyback.
Where did she say this?
She said it multiple times. There are multiple videos. I watched it there was a late night show. She said it. She was outside the Capitol steps one time. She said it. She was at a podium and she said it. I watched all these videos earlier today. I actually typed out one of the quotes. It was so ridiculous.
If you watched all these videos today and you typed out the quote, why can't you give me one?
Because I have to find where I typed it.
What's the point of doing that? Why is it that Fox News is posting articles as recently as 2 days ago saying Kamala walks back on mandatory gun buyback stance?
Well, okay.
So it sounds like she doesn't want to do that anymore. I doubt. Yeah.
Wait, what's the quote that she said? Because I'm telling you what she actually saed.
You're not. You're saying that this is almost a quote.
Play the videos. I want to see if you can defend it. Is that what you want to do? You want to watch her say it? Because I didn't make this up. Everyone can just go to X and say Kamala gun, and you can watch all of them. All you have to do is go to X, type in the search Kamala gun. You're going to see ridiculous statements. And she said, "I'm the only one that has promised to use executive power." So do you agree that when it says Congress shall make no law, since you brought up the Constitution, Congress shall make no law to infringe on the right to bear arms, that definitely means that a president can't take executive action to do mandatory gun buybacks and send people to take your guns?
Not necessarily, because Congress is not the president. So whatever quote you're using, it doesn't even really support what you're saying. But I don't know if you're aware of it or not.
Whatever quote I'm using, it's the Constitution. Congress shall make no law.
I understand what you're saying. Yes, it's the Second Amendment. The president is not Congress. So if the
That's
Congress
right,
is
because the president's not even supposed to be able to do anything in that realm at all. The only people making laws is Congress. We're talking about executive branch trying to then pass some type of executive order to take your guns. That is insane. That is indefensible.
Okay, sure. That's insane. Okay.
It's a valid.
Okay, wait. Okay, let's see if we can get on the same page with this. Okay, I like guns. I got several in my background. Okay, so the government, the president using executive actions to get around Congress to regulate guns. We would say that this is like a really problematic thing if Kamala were to do this.
Wait, sorry.
If the president of the United States doesn't use Congress, but they go around Congress and they were to like sign an executive order, like trying to go after gun stuff.
You're setting up a deflection.
I'm just asking a question. Can you really not even answer the question? I'm asking you, if the president of the United States was to use an executive order to ban something related to guns, that would be bad, right?
You're just going to bring up that Trump did something with an attachment.
Yeah, Donald Trump signed an executive order to try to ban bump stocks. So, and if I look at Biden's admin, I don't think they tried to do anything to get rid of guns, did they? I think there were some Supreme Court cases.
Honestly, I said I
but no, you did it. No. That's fine that you disavow it. That's great. And if Kamala wanted to ban guns, I would also disavow that. But I just don't think that's her current stance.
Gun buybacks and wants to ban assault weapons.
I don't think those are her stances, and I don't.
Okay,
think
can I share screen? I'll just play the video.
Sure.
I'm not going to play the game where we pretend I'm making stuff up. I mean,
okay.
And this is the thing. They have a very convenient position right now because they're all like, "Oh, well, she used to be super left, but once she was with Biden, she became more moderate," and they're distancing back from all of her previous stances without making any definitive stances. So then someone like you can just say, "Well, I don't think that's what she would do," right? So, I mean, let's watch it because I guess that's
just to be clear. Sure, yeah, we can watch it. Just to be clear, before you show whatever you're going to show, a statement that she made in 2019 is not going to be indicative. If that's what you're going, it's not going to be necessarily indicative of a policy she would pursue in 2024, right? You understand that, like, when you're running in the primary process and you're trying to outcompete other Democrats, that the positions that you take there are probably going to be a lot different than the positions you might take, like, in the general election, right? Or that you might take when you've already been president for 4 or 5 years, right? Do you not understand that? You really don't understand that?
No. I understand that when you're running for primary, what you're doing is trying to convince all your constituents that you're the good presidential candidate by telling them what you're going to do if you were to be president. And she specifically says, "I'm the only one that promises that it's enough's enough. Congress won't take care of the problem. So I will give them 100 days and I will take executive action." And she said it multiple times. And she said that an outright ban on assault weapons that are brought in, deportation of assault weapons, and that are here domestically, and that there's a mandatory gun buyback and that she supports it. These are communist, psychopathic statements of totalitarianism.
Okay, hold on. Okay, wait. So then just so I can understand what the statement is. You're telling me that Kamala Harris is going to say that she's going to use executive orders to confiscate all assault weapons.
Yes.
Okay, let's listen to it.
And all right. You're cool with me sharing screen, James?
Yeah, right.
All right. So I think this is one of them. All right, share screen. I'll just share X altogether. Share screen. Share sound. All right. You can see and hear that?
Yep.
You can definitely see it.
Because not one candidate who has very similar plans to what you have when it comes to guns never really seems to talk about the process of perhaps banning certain guns. Does it involve law enforcement essentially going to people's houses looking for specific banned guns? Does it involve perhaps creating a database of people who are legal gun owners? I mean, what kind of process are we talking about here?
Well, first of all, as a point of distinction, I believe I'm the only one who has said that she will take executive action. So mine is not just a plan with some plan for legislation. I'm actually prepared to take executive action to put in place rules that improve this situation.
Okay, and this is not the one where she goes into detail.
All we heard there was, I plan to use executive action to put in rules that improve the situation. So I didn't hear anything there yet, but go ahead. What's the next one?
It's a great idea, but I mean, listen, I don't think we lack for great ideas. As I've said many times, we've been having great ideas for decades. The problem is that Congress has not had the courage to act. And that is why, from the beginning, I have said, my agenda includes attempting to get Congress to act, but if they don't within the first 100 days of my administration, I'm going to take executive action. Because what we need is action. Adding to your gun control agenda?
Okay, wait. So pause that one.
No, wait. I think I found that.
Well, wait. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. Just as a point of research.
There's like 7 of them, bro.
No. Yeah, that's fine. But to be clear, you haven't done the research to find these. It sounds like you're playing a pre-made compilation that you got from somewhere else, which is fine, I guess. But it's evidence of how you do your research. But just to be clear, that quote also didn't say that she was going to take everybody's guns, and you're also misquoting the 100 days thing. It sounds like what she was saying was if Congress doesn't act in 100 days, she's going to take executive action to do whatever. I don't know what those actions are.
That's what I said. Okay. That's what I said.
No, you said that she was going to, within 100 days, like take everybody's executive action to confiscate everybody's assault weapons.
All right, here we go. This is the best one probably. And what I said was she said she's going to give Congress 100 days, and if they don't put a bill on her desk to sign, then she will take executive action.
Sure, but doing what though?
We're about to find out.
Okay.
I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country. But we still have to deal with the over 2 million assault weapons that are currently in the streets of America. And so a buyback program is a good idea. If Congress fails to act, I'll give them 100 days to put a bill on my desk for signature. And if they do not do it, I will put in place by executive action a comprehensive background check requirement and a ban on the assault weapons and the importation of assault weapons into our country. I'm done.
And that's why We will work.
Okay, wait. Okay. So it sounds like the first thing she says that was a clever edit in the middle there, by the way. But it sounds like the first thing she says is use executive action to ban the import of assault rifles. So that was one thing she said, which might be in the purview of. That's not.
She just said and domestically.
No, hold on. No. Wait. Play it back. Go back to the very beginning and listen again and listen very closely. That's not what she said.
No, but she says it right here.
Wait. Go back. Wait.
At the beginning, she says importation.
Go back and play it. Go back and play it again.
Okay, and let's just make sure we're on the same page before I play this. She says, but we also still have the problem of the ones that are already here.
Correct.
And then later and then in conclusion, she says that she will ban them here.
No, she doesn't say that. There's an edit, and then it sounds like she's saying she'll do background checks with an executive order. That's what it sounds like. But go back to the beginning and play it again.
We're going to play the whole thing. Let's play it.
Yep.
I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country. But we still have to deal with the over 2 million assault weapons that are currently in the streets of America. And so a buyback program is a good idea. If Congress fails to act, I'll give them 100 days to put a bill on my desk for signature. And if they do not do it, I will put in place by executive action a comprehensive background check requirement and a ban on the assault weapons and importation of assault weapons into our country. I'm done.
And that's why we will work.
Do you hear? Wait.
She said the ban on assault weapons and the importation of assault weapons. And that's, of course, in the context that just before she said we still have the problem of the ones that are here.
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait. Do you genuinely believe that that's what you just heard?
Dude, are you just going to gaslight me in front of the whole audience?
No, I'm not going to gaslight you. But if you sincerely can't hear, or can I appeal to James? James, can you give an interpret? If he can't understand English, I don't know what the point is of going further here. So what she says in the clip is she says that she would take an executive action to ban the importation of assault weapons, and then she says a buyback program is a good idea. Then it sounds like his clip has an edit, and then after that, but even with the edit, she says if Congress fails to act in the first 100 days, it sounds like she says that she'll take an executive order or action to do comprehensive background checks, and then to ban the importation.
Why does she say ban assault weapons and the importation of them?
When?
Right here.
Background check requirement and a ban on the assault weapons and importation of assault weapons into our country.
She's saying ban on the importation of assault weapons in the country.
No, she says and.
A ban on the assault weapons and importation of assault weapons into our country.
She's saying ban on the. Hold on. Is this what you're hinging your whole argument on?
Such a cope. All right. So
wait. Hold on. That's what you're hinging your whole argument on?
What?
You're hinging your argument on right there that she meant to say that she was okay.
Times.
You think that she's saying I'm going to ban assault weapons and the importation of assault weapons? Do you think that's what she said?
That's literally what she says, that we have a problem with importation, but also we have a problem with the guns that are already here. Then she says we're going to ban ban assault weapons and the importation of assault weapons. She just said it. She said the other video, she says that she supports them going door to door to get the guns.
I haven't heard any door to door. So firstly, you're just not understanding what she's saying here. She's just saying she would ban the importation of them. That's fine.
Universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban.
Oh, wait a minute. What does that say? Assault weapons ban.
Wait, play it again?
Okay, I gotcha.
Of assault weapons into our country. I'm done.
And that's why we will work to pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban.
Are you going to wiggle your way out of that one, Destiny?
What do you think it means when you say work to pass?
So now you agree that her plan is to ban assault weapons domestically.
Hold on.
Americans
the claim is she would use executive action to do it.
That's what
she says work to pass. Is she working to pass an executive action? What do you think she means there?
She says she will work to pass with Congress, and she'll give them 100 days. She'll give them 100 days.
No. In the last clip, my dude, that last clip is about Congress. It's about legislation. Do you know how the government works?
Wait. So you're saying she only wants to ban assault weapons if Congress agrees, but when it comes to the actual executive action, she just accidentally messed up and said assault weapons and deportation of them, and said that the main problem is that they're already here.
No, she's saying no. It's the reason why she says the main problem is that they're here. She's bringing this up because the president can't deal with them domestically. That's why she's saying over and over again, I would ban the importation, because you might be able to do that via executive action, but you still have the problem of 2 million being here. Why would she say that's a problem when she could just ban it by executive action. She's obviously saying we have to do something about him here, and she'll take executive action to do background checks, and then she says, and deal with assault weapons, and then she says importation of assault weapons because she's correcting herself. But you think that she just let it slip that she was going to use executive action to ban assault weapons?
Everyone just heard it. Everyone just heard her say it, bro. So you agree if that's what she said, you disavow it, and it's ridiculous.
That's not what she said, though. Not only did she not say that, I also went and I looked at the quote. You even misquoted me. I said in my quote with Ben Shapiro, I'm going to try to be concise, broadly speaking, especially in studying Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, Russia. I try not to take politicians at their word because sometimes they just say stuff to say stuff. I understand that, but broadly speaking, I'm going to look at the rhetoric and the actions that they take. That doesn't mean that I'm just saying they say random things that have no meaning. What I'm saying is that politicians speak and they have actions that they take as well. And just because a politician says something, you have to look at the political climate and environment that they exist in. It's not just them saying random word. Okay. Do we have, okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna closing statements. What do we got?
Are you gonna disavow the fact she wants to take our guns? And
She never said that. So no, I'm not going to. Because she never said this. You literally are. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you understand English.
Do you support her taking threatening to take executive action to infringe on the Second Amendment?
She didn't sound like she said that.
She literally said, "I'm the only one that said they're going to take executive action." Do you agree that's
not
illegal?
Not to seize your assault weapons? No, she never said that domestically.
Okay, so
why are you using? Well, I'm curious. Where did you get that
crazy clip?
Wait. Where did you get that clip compilation from?
Well, it's just all over. There's not a clip compilation. It's all over Twitter. There are different clips of
what do you? No. Whatever you were just playing. Can you link it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure. Here's another one. You want to watch another?
No. I want you to link that. I want you to link.
I'm kidding.
I want you to link.
Sorry. Okay. What's up?
Yeah, I want you to link the what were we just watching? What were we listening to? Those compilation things.
It was something. It was a clip from her being on a late night TV show.
Yeah, so link the compilation. I just want to see it.
Okay.
I'll throw that in the old live chat as well if people would like to watch it too.
I mean, that's disgusting, bro. That's just disgusting. That woman is not taking my guns. And do you agree that would cause like massive civil unrest and that
like trying to lead an insurrection and overthrow the election results?
Deflection.
Not a deflection. It happened. And it hasn't happened. What hasn't happened is I'm trying to steal our assault weapons. So where's the link? Hold on, wait. Where's the link to the compilation? Did you link it yet?
Okay. No, but do you agree? I have to type in the thing again. Do you agree that would cause massive civil unrest and be terrible for our country?
Yeah, which is why they didn't do it under Biden and they won't do it under Kamala.
Do you agree that that's one of the most important amendments? Because even in theory, it's supposed to protect us against the totalitarian, tyrannical government.
No, I don't think that's what the purpose of the Second Amendment was. That's a pretty recent
literally what it says in the Second Amendment.
That's literally not what it says in the Second Amendment.
What? It says in the case of a tyrant. It's literally about.
Yeah, it literally says in the case of a tyrannical. It's about protecting states and forming militias and having the federal government take the rights of states to form militias. When that amendment was drafted, the whole point of the Bill of Rights was to guarantee rights to the states, that the federal government wouldn't overstep and take those rights from the states. Because before the federal government was created, we had Articles of Confederation that had like no basic power for the federal government. So in order to form the federal government, the states wanted guarantees that the federal government would come after their stuff. So the Second Amendment, that's why it has that their ability to form a militia, right? For the necessity of keeping that militia, for a state to have a militia, they ought to not be having their guns taken. No, not tyrannical. You say government. They weren't scared of government. They were scared of the federal government. They literally were. They were scared of the federal government. You have no idea what the founding fathers, what the framers, what any early legislator, governor, or anybody wrote in regards to this country. You have no idea. You don't understand any of it. You don't even know how a law is passed. You thought that working to pass something meant an executive order. Well, I'm still waiting for the clip. I want the link to the compilation that we just watched.
No, I have to try to find it. I forgot the name of the thing.
How does it take so long? We were just listening to it on your stream.
Because I went back to the other search and it's not on my phone now. You have to type in the specific name of the.
I thought you said you watched a bunch of stuff and took notes. Did you not take notes? Did you watch just?
No, I said I actually typed out one of her quotes. I'm not sure where it's at because I knew you would do this.
You knew that I would ask you for a link to source what you just said.
Here it is. I think I'm gonna find it now. No, what? We just watched her say it. Yes, and you try to gaslight me in front of the whole audience.
I'm not gaslighting you. We watched an edited clip compilation. I'm just curious where it came from. Open your browser history, push Control H, and then look for the tweet or whatever.
Oh, that's a good idea, duh. So anyway, do you agree, though, the question's very simple, that you would disavow a president taking executive action to do a mandatory gun buyback program?
I'm not answering any questions until you post the link to that compilation. That's all I want to see. And then we can move on to the next part.
It's just a good faith question. All right, here, I'm posting it.
None of your questions have been good faith. Just post it in the chat for Zoom.
Gotcha. This is just major cope, though. Are you about to use like a genetic fallacy? You're gonna discredit it based on the source. Like no one cares. So anyway, so we've
So to be
covered that.
clear,
Obviously,
this isn't. Hold on.
We'll
This isn't what we
jump into
watched.
the
This isn't
next-
what we watched earlier. We had a compilation of multiple clips earlier, right? This looks like it's just one.
well, yeah, that's the one we just watched that you super coped on. Do you want all of them? I'll drop all of them.
I'm just curious what you were actually showing me earlier. I will say it's
That was
interesting
it. That was the one that we just watched. That was her at the late night, point blank saying
Okay.
it. That is literally.
Sure.
And there's a clip
curious.
at the end of it.
Yeah. So when you did research to try to figure out what her stance on guns was, did you go just to National Gun Rights, the Twitter account, to find this, or did you
No,
actually look
no.
at or listen to any of her full speeches or any of the presentations she did on this?
I just went to look up any of her positions on guns, and she brags about in the presidential when she was running for president in the primary. She brags about being the only one. And she says this multiple times. I'm the only one that's going to actually get something done. Everyone else says that they're going to work with Congress. We've found out that Congress is not going to do anything about it. I am the only one that has promised to take executive action and quickly, and I'm going to give them 90 days. And then she says 100 days in the other clip. She consistently says she's going to give them about 3 months to come give a bill that's going to do what she wants with the guns, or she's going to take executive action. That was her main running point in the presidential campaign. Doesn't matter who posts it on Twitter. It came out of her mouth. That was her. Now, your argument, and by the way, this is the whole entire Democratic approach right now, is to distance her from her previous like extreme radical leftist positions. Like, oh, well, that was her back in the day. So it's like, okay, that's very convenient because that shows that even she knows her positions are ridiculous. And to quote her, she is extremely radical. And she literally bragged about being radical and said we need radical change. And she was scored as the most left in the entire Senate. So this girl's extreme left and radical. This girl couldn't be called liberal, and she was a DEI appointee, according to Biden himself. Effectively said, "Well, I want a black female, right?" So you got. I mean, let's just be real here. We can both agree that this is not okay. This is not an American president thing to do.
Then I will take
like that's my
executive
point. Is
action.
like you can say maybe
And
she won't do that
specifically what I
now.
will
Maybe
do
she changed her position.
is put in place
But don't
a
try to
requirement
gaslight me and
that
don't try to
for anyone who
defend
sells
it
more than 5
because
guns a
obviously
year,
that
they are
is a
required
terrible
to do
idea, and America
background
won't
checks
do
when they
it,
sell those
and it
guns.
will cause massive civil unrest, right?
Stephen, if you'd like to have a closing as well.
The weird like trying to pick out like one or two quotes of a person and then proving that that's what they're going to do for their administration, I just think is really silly. We can look at Biden's administration. We can look at how his 4 years went. We can look at Trump's administration. We can look at how his 4 years went. Trump failed to do anything meaningful about the border. Trump failed to do anything meaningful about immigration policy. Even if I was a conservative and even if I felt like immigration presented one of the greatest threats to this country, Trump wouldn't be the candidate that I would choose to fix it. He failed to secure any concessions from Mexico. The only reason why his numbers were as good as they were is because he could rely on Title 42 or COVID to shut down the border in a way that he wouldn't be able to otherwise. And he was unable to bring together Congress, which is his job, even though Republicans were in both halves of Congress, in order to get anything done about the border. Why would I give him another 4 years as a lame duck president when now he's the oldest person that's ever run for office and assume that he's able to get it done this time? It doesn't make any sense. The closest we got to actually doing something, okay, largely thanks to a Republican legislator, Lankford in the Senate, the closest we got to doing something about the border was shut down by Donald Trump because he wanted to keep the border open as an election issue, which is, by the way, wholly consistent with every single way that Trump runs the country and every single thing that Trump does. It's always him above country every single time, whether it's because he's trying to coup the government and overthrow it, whether it's because he's trying to salute enemy North Korean soldiers so they can get photo ops with Kim Jong-un, or whether he's trying to torpedo legislation in the United States because he thinks that destroying this country is somehow better for his electoral chances. Why would I ever choose somebody like that when I can look to somebody like Biden, who the only thing you can play of him is that same clip with the red background over and over and over again, a guy that's passed more comprehensive legislation than like any of the past like 10 presidents that have been talking elected. A guy who not only talked about getting infrastructure done like Trump did, but actually managed to do it. And he didn't do it when he owned majorities in both halves of the Senate and the House. He did it with a 50-50 divided Senate. So I'm going to go with the guy who hasn't been impeached twice and who isn't a 33-time felon and who isn't in front of the Supreme Court begging for criminal immunity because it's the only way to protect him from his actions. I'm going to go with the vice president of the guy that had a pretty good 4 years. Yeah.
Well, can I give an actual closing as well though? Because I was just trying to get him to acknowledge the gun thing. Can I give a quick closing in response?
Yes, you may. I do want to ask if you can also send the link because I will have people.
I dropped it in the Zoom chat.
I will probably even have. You already sent it
in the Zoom chat, yeah.
Okay, so I will try to post that in the live chat. I don't know how YouTube is about me posting links, so folks, bear with me on that. I'm gonna try, and then Stephen, you got that as well.
Yeah, I clicked one, yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, Witsit, if you want to go ahead, the
Salt
floor is
weapons
all
into our
yours for your
country.
wrap up as
But we
well.
still have to deal
Exactly.
with
So
the
it is
over 2
funny
million
how
assault
it went
weapons that
from
are
everyone
currently in the
notoriously
streets of
agreeing
America.
that
And so
Kamala's
a
not really
buyback
even a good
program
VP, and it was
is a
basically a
good
DEI
idea. If
hire, and
Congress
her having
fails to act,
3%
I'll
in the
give them
primaries,
100
and no
days
one
to put
liked her,
a
and
bill
no
on my
one ever
desk for
talked good
signature.
about her.
If they do
So
not do
all of a
it, I will
sudden,
put in place by
overnight, the media
executive
says that
action
she's the
a
new next
comprehensive background
Obama,
check
right?
requirement
And of course,
and
she
a
didn't
ban on
actually
the
even get
assault weapons
nominated
and
at all.
importation of
And
assault
so
weapons into our
basically,
country.
that's
I'm
just
done.
she's not even like duly a representative, but more so in very concisely, she wants to give them tax-funded healthcare to all illegal immigrants. That's ridiculous. When most Americans right now like dread going to the grocery store, we're going to use our taxpayer money to give healthcare to illegal immigrants. They absolutely are on the record talking about mass amnesty, citizenship. They immediately halted deportation. She was in charge of the border, and we have the worst border crisis ever. Then she has clearly insinuated that there will be mandatory gun confiscation via executive order. That is absolutely unacceptable and should be completely disavowed. She's for the green deal, like $100 trillion over time, effectively, right? Talking about just completely banning oil. She said she wants to ban offshore drilling and fracking, and then they're starting to walk that back as well. So I'll just keep it because she wants to abolish ICE and then reset everything. All the long story short, all her claims she's made were so radically extreme and leftist that now they're literally trying to distance from them, and she's not giving public stances. That's the way you destroy America. Trump has said that he will put America first. He brought manufacturing back here. He made our economy stronger than ever. He actually didn't have this insane inflation. You can see $1.5 trillion repatriated back to America. So just on that sense alone, putting America first and defending our borders and standing up for the Second Amendment, it's not even a question as to who would be better for America.
We're going to jump into the Q&A. I want to say, folks, thank you very much for your questions. We're going to go through these as fast as possible so we can get these guys out of here at a decent time tonight. But I got to let you know, folks, please don't submit any more questions. I'm going to pin that at the top of the live chat. I just put that in the old live chat. Also, I pinned I'm going to pin it right now, the link from Witsit if you'd like to watch that yourself. And thanks very much. This first question coming in from, we've got a lot. This is, folks have really enjoyed this. So thanks for being here with us tonight, folks. This from Greek letter name says, a question to Destiny from Ukrainian. Say, why, if the person believes in insane conspiracies like anti-vax stuff or flat earth, he is always justifying Russian in the invasion of Ukraine? What?
Typically, people with bad epistemic foundations all kind of head in the same direction. Like, it's pretty obvious if you're captured by a particular media network that people are going to feed you information, and like a good NPC, you're going to eat it all up. That's why Austin's sources today were literally clips from Twitter. It's probably the only extent of research he's ever done. That's why his entire closing statement was just reciting verbatim things that Trump said in his rally speeches. We don't actually have any independent research. We don't actually have a listening to of entire speeches. It sounds like even the quote that he got from me in my Shapiro debate was ripped from context given to him by somebody else. So yeah, when people have faulty epistemic foundations, they tend to do faulty research, and it's more easier for them to be ideologically captured by somebody that's looking for people with weak minds.
This one from Andres. And by the way, folks, we are definitely going to skip the questions that are just personal attacks. We really do want sincere questions. Andres says, Destiny, you make, okay, let's see. I am from Uruguay, a country mostly socialist for over 100 years, and it's a cesspool now. USA under Democrats looks like a gigantic Uruguay. Congrats, becoming a third world country. I think they're saying that, I'll just let you respond.
Who is that? Is that to me or?
That was, yeah, for you.
Democrats, I mean, like Democrats, blue cities are literally the engine that powers this country. Like our most productive sectors literally come from our blue states and our blue cities. Our blue states and our blue cities are literally the things that are funding the existence of a lot of the more red rural places. The only ways a lot of these places can survive are the fact that they are powered by the economic engines that are these blue places. I think California on its own would have like the 6th or 7th largest economy in the world. And we need these blue cities to be as productive as possible if we're going to get more Republican presidents like Trump that are going to deficit spend like crazy or do other things to destroy our economy, like tariffing the fuck out of, every other country on the planet. So
this one from Second Temple says, Destiny, Kamala is not a good candidate because she lies about her religion. She claims to be a Baptist, but does not represent any biblical values.
I mean, Trump lies about his religion too. He claims to be a Christian and instead he's a felon and a rapist. So, I mean, I don't really care that much about religion. I'm an atheist.
You got it. Let me know, Austin and Witsit.
Worst position.
Let me know if the audio is too bad on your guys' side. I just had the live chat telling me that they can't hear me, so I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Let me know if it's unbearable. Paul Brasfield says, oh, thanks for your kind words, Paul. Theodore Paul says, Witsit, believe in God's love, but not for immigrants.
Yeah, I don't believe in mass illegal immigration that has no respect for the nation that they're moving to. It has been proven time and time again to be the quickest way to expedite the collapse of society. I'm all for people coming here the proper way with respect for the culture and the nation. And believe it or not, putting up border walls is not anti-Christian. Read the Bible.
This one from
Wait, which
Andre
part of the
says, my
Bible do they
previous-
put up border walls? What part is that?
It's very clear. We have denotations of sovereignty of nations and tribes all throughout the scriptures. That's what the entire thing was with Israel, tribes and people and surrounding areas stealing their land, like the Canaanites when they were actually in Egyptian captivity, etc. So the sovereignty of nations and actual specific locations being guarded by armies and walls is all throughout the entire Bible.
You got this one from Andres again. Says, my previous super chat was over 100 years. They're talking about, let's see. But they move to the next thing. They say, beg for Trump to save you from any communist branch that Democrats are selling. They're the end of humanity. Destiny, do you think that Kamala, well, just to get to the point, do you think Kamala is a communist?
No.
This one from Stephanie Luminous. Okay, thanks for that, Stephanie. Mars Squeeze says, what does Witsit think about Trump promised to reduce the federal deficit, but under his presidency, the deficit actually increased by more than 60%. Trump did poor getting our troops out of Afghanistan.
Why would someone supporting Biden bring up Afghanistan? Yeah, obviously the Trump argument would be that because of the pandemic, that the spending was bad. Although he didn't do that great with the spending up to the pandemic as well. I will even acknowledge that. Anyone that actually knows my position knows that I'm not like the biggest fan of Trump. I just know that it's obvious. It's no brainer who's better. And then of course Biden just left people hanging in Afghanistan. I don't know why you would bring that up, but yeah, he didn't go to war. The best critique of Trump is how he's like completely just has undying loyalty to Israel and what he did with the jab. So
This is from Ryan. Says, James O'Keefe provided hard evidence the Democrats are using ACT Blue to launder money. Destiny will probably not agree with this. Destiny, what are your thoughts?
Undeniable evidence? I mean, is there like a court case or what? Where's...
This one from David says, Witsit, do you deny the number of apprehensions and expulsions by CBP are now 3 to 4 times Trump's administration? Citation, Statista, apprehensions and expulsions registered by the United States Border Patrol.
no, I actually don't know the specifics, so I'm not going to deny it or confirm it. I think just the principle of leading a country into the agreement, even just if that's what you're saying, the agreement to open up the borders is incredibly dangerous and detrimental. Not only do we need to shut the borders down, we need to reverse mass deportations immediately. So, I mean, it's more so even just in principle. If a country can agree on the sentiment of sovereignty and protection domestically, it will collapse. Your culture will be gone, and you will turn around and you won't have anything for people to flee to anymore. It's a pretty simple concept.
Omnipresent One says, question to Destiny, in your opinion, is there anything Trump could do to make his campaign do even worse?
Is there anything Trump can do to make his campaign do even worse?
Correct.
There are probably a billion things he could do.
Sam McEl says, let's see. They say, okay, looking for something more substantive. Let's see. Ryan says, Theodore Paul says, Trump said nuke hurricanes. Witsit says nukes are fake.
Wow. Yeah, poison in the well. I will say, look into the nuclear bomb hoax. One thing's for sure, World War II, super sketchy, the story. You couldn't even report on it as a American journalist without being charged with treason, which is, of course, punishable by death. And Japan actually reported it as firebombing, and then they just so coincidentally surrender with 1 million Russian troops invading on the ground in the north, and they forgot to tell you that part of the story. So just look into it. That's poisoning the well anyway. Doesn't matter if I was right or wrong about that.
Wait, speaking about wells and oils, do you think that dinosaurs were real?
The mainstream story of dinosaurs, I don't buy it now. Why would I? Royal Society came in 1850s and said that, and they have a completely fictitious, easily disproven pseudoscientific way of dating it.
This one coming in from Do Appreciate It. Ozzy and Talk says open borders means liberty of labor and travel, but neither Dems nor Republicans support open borders. I support multiculturalism. After show on Matters Now. Do either of you agree with this? That neither Dems nor Republicans support open borders. Sounds like you guys would probably both agree with that, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, nobody wants open borders. Yeah.
I think that there are many people on the left that do, and whether that just be, typically speaking, no, but it is moving that way. Yeah, and just the mere notion of it moving that way is incredibly dangerous. And the fact that people are being called all kinds of like derogatory terms for wanting, strong border security is insane. It is a sentiment that is not new, and it's what an enemy does to take down a country. So I do disagree. Yes, I think the left is very clearly moving closer and closer to just outright open borders, so even if it gives them an advantageous position in elections.
When we keep talking about like immigrants destroying the country or the culture, or whatever, what stuff are we talking about them destroying? What is the culture or the country or the ideas that we're talking about destroying?
Like the American culture of the actual Constitution. If someone comes in here illegally and they don't respect, then obviously they don't even respect our rule of law and order, right? And most of them aren't going to respect the Constitution either. I have no problem with diversity, quote unquote, although I think that this is a white Christian nation, and that's the way it was built, and that's why it is what it is. And if you just completely change it radically, it will no longer be that.
So are you worried about the multiple times Donald Trump has said that he will be a dictator on day one, or that he would suspend the Constitution? Does that not worry you? I don't believe Kamala Harris has ever said that, right? Do you acknowledge that Trump has said that and Kamala Harris has never said that she would suspend the Constitution?
I've never heard Trump say that, but I completely disavow the notion. Sounds insane.
You haven't heard Trump say multiple times, put out on Truth Social, that he would suspend the Constitution to look for voter fraud?
No, but I disavow it. So
okay, well, not just disavow it, but you just said that that was one of the core things that holds America together. So when I say I don't like the fact that I think that MAGA people are more of a threat to the United States than immigrants are, can you think of any prominent Mexican immigrants or prominent Muslim immigrants that have talked about getting rid of the U.S. Constitution like Donald Trump has multiple times?
No, and obviously the context of that apparently, according to you, is specifically one thing, but I still disavow the entire idea. It doesn't matter. Major demographic shift from people that don't respect your culture and come in here illegally. That's proof. That's actionable proof that they don't care about your rule of law and order, and they will destroy your country. We're watching it happen all over the world. I completely disavow mass illegal immigration demographic shift. It's absolutely stupid.
Okay, everybody does. But I think that if we care about people sharing our values and valuing the Constitution, then the threat could also come from within, which is also probably important to note as well. And Donald Trump has
strongly disavow it.
No, you don't disavow because you said it's clear that you'd still support him. Kamala Harris has never talked about suspending the Constitution. I would imagine the Constitution is probably the most important founding value that you can have as an American citizen. Can you think of something more important than respect for the Constitution, which the president takes an oath to, by the way, when they're in office?
Someone pretending, but then passing executive orders to take your guns.
So somebody passing executive orders to try to take your guns is a bigger deal to you than somebody saying outright that they would suspend the Constitution?
Yeah, if they don't take my guns, then the guns are way bigger deal, yes.
Okay, well then how about the fact that Biden and Kamala Harris didn't, but Donald Trump literally already has passed an executive order to go after guns in the form of bump stock bans?
I completely disavow. It says it shall make no law infringing on anything. There should be no infringement. But Kamala says that if she's president, she'll take executive order.
Well, you're not disavowing, though. You're still supporting a guy who passed an executive order to go after guns. It's why a lot of people in Georgia didn't support him. And you're supporting a guy who said he would suspend the Constitution. You said that these were two cornerstones of American values. So it sounds like you don't actually care about these American values. You just care about something else. And I'm not really sure what it is.
Destiny, is disingenuous because you're talking about a bump stock and you know that the alternative is talking about outright bans and mandatory gun buybacks. Those are totally different things. I disavow Trump touching the Second Amendment at all. I'm not even this huge Trump guy. I said that already. I think he made plenty of mistakes. To somehow defend the policies or stances of the radical, extreme psychopath Kamala is a different story.
Okay. Well, she's been VP for 4 years. Donald Trump has attacked the Constitution and guns more than her. So I think that even using your position, I would rather support Kamala because she's probably less likely to go after guns and less likely to go after the Constitution than Donald Trump is.
She swears that she's going to do it within 100 days.
And yet the best you could find me were highly edited clips from a National Guns Rights Twitter X account.
Okay, see, you're just coping. There's 7 clips. Everyone can look it up. There's 7 times she said it. Go ahead.
There's 7 clips? Wait, then why is it that you had to give me a different Twitter account that wasn't the same clip as you watched before, or the same collection of clips that you watched before?
I wanted to find the one of the night show specifically, so I had to look up that thing. If you just
Oh.
type in Kamala guns, you're gonna find at least 4 or 5 different times that she's specifically talked about executive. That was one of her primary talking points she ran on in the primary. Okay,
Is that
was
how
her
you do
whole thing.
research? You go to x.com and you type in Kamala guns?
Hey, you didn't know that X is basically the most effective way to get news today? Where have you been?
Do you really believe that?
We'll
You
jump
think
into
that
sex.
X? You think
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And then wait, hold on, just real quick. Do you think that the Earth is round or flat?
I don't believe this Earth's a spinning globe.
Okay. Do you think gravity's real?
Yeah, gravity's real, just not what you think it is.
You think it's just buoyancy and density, right?
No, it's intrinsically electrostatic. Everything's intrinsically electrostatic.
Okay, gotcha. And you learned all this
Yeah.
on X?
No, I've done diligent research and all the things you would never want to debate me about that, Destiny. Let's be real.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious because you're a big gun guy. And
Do you
don't
wanna
believe
agree
that
to a
gravity
debate
is
right
real?
now about
You don't
flat-
believe it?
you wanna
Why do you have to zero a gun when you shoot a bullet? Why does it fall at all? Like why are they lobbing the bullet?
Because it has weight, which is mass times gravity, which is volume times density times downward acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared, which has nothing to do with the bending and warping of space time, which is reification fallacy. You would never want to debate me about this, Destiny. Let's just, if you want to agree right now publicly, we'll do a future debate on flat Earth. But
No,
I
I'm
don't
good.
think you want.
No, I don't think I could handle all the news you're getting from X. So
I don't think you can. Let's be real. Like you could, Zerka kind of dunked on you there. You know.
that's
I
the
wanna
guy who
mention-
you're appealing to as your source of news. The guy who's
No,
kicked
no,
out of the
I'm
United
saying- I'm
States,
saying I
who's
would-
a
I would-
cokehead that
Doctors
fucks
Zerka.
16-year-olds, and yeah, okay.
I would actually dunk on you. That's my point. I would actually.
I
Dunk
gotta
on you.
jump just
Go ahead.
at the bottom right of the screen, folks. You can see Destiny versus Javad. This is going to be this month. We're still pinning down a debate. Javad is a MD from Harvard, very smart guy. It's going to be on Israel and Palestine, that current conflict. You don't want to miss it. Hit subscribe for that debate. And yeah, Stephen, we'll
Oh
get
my
back
God.
to you on when that exact date will be because Javad has been super swamped. But long story short, that's going to be a great debate, folks. This one coming in from, do appreciate it. And Ryan says, Trump shook hands with the leader of North Korea because they were close to a peace deal. Many North Koreans still hold America in contempt because the U.S. is firebombed cities, killing many civilians. Any
What?
thoughts from either of you?
They were never close to a peace deal. Tillerson said as much. Pence said as much. North Korea went back to ICBM testing, I think a few months later. Yeah.
You got it. And this one coming in from Jonathan Gendler. Thanks very much. Says, what do you make of Trump saying you won't need to vote again in the next election because it will be quote unquote fixed? Also, asylum migrants are here legally.
Okay.
Thoughts, gentlemen?
There are tons of people here illegally. The official numbers are 10 million, which means that's a minimum, and everyone knows it's probably significantly higher than that. So that's just a deflection. I don't think military age men are seeking asylum. But outside of that, what was the first part of it? I don't remember.
Let me just load this up. They had
Where's
said Trump shook hands with the leader of North Korea.
Oh, I remember. The quote about Trump. Yeah, saying like you won't have to vote again. I mean, obviously, it can be taken a conspiratorial way that would be pretty insane, and Destiny would maybe think that's possible. But obviously, the context is that he's just saying that we'll get it so fixed in 4 years that right now is more pivotal than ever. This is the most important election ever. Just come vote right now, and I don't care what you do after that. We'll at least get it fixed. Is obviously the implied context.
Do you think
Sketchy
it's crazy
comment.
that there's so much implied context that you give him there for that, but when Kamala Harris offhandedly one time stutters and says ban assault weapons and then corrects to import of assault weapons, you think that that was her true policy position, even though she's never repeated that again and nobody really questioned her on it because they all understood it to mean banning the importation of assault weapons? You don't see the incongruency there?
She says it multiple times.
Really? Oh, okay. In the Q&A, can you find me one other quote where she says that she would do through executive action ban assault weapons, domestic assault weapons, not the importation?
So wait,
of them.
okay, so you're saying that if she does it through Congress, that it's okay?
Well, I mean, what do you mean by okay? It would be more legal.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. Congress shall make no law. So,
The hold on. Your claim was that she was going to do it via executive action.
That's what she said out of her own words. You're coping and saying that she didn't mean to say
I'm
it.
saying that she clearly said the importation of assault weapons. We corrected it to immediately after. And I'm saying
No.
that if she truly wanted to domestically ban them via executive action, I'm sure there's another quote of her saying that, not just that one time where she's like misspeaking. But then for Trump's quote where he said like, oh yeah, you won't need to vote. We'll fix this so good you won't need to vote. For there, you are willing to say, well, obviously what he really meant.
Are you saying he's implying he's going to never leave office? Is that what you're saying?
No, I would be not retarded in both circumstances. And I would say Donald Trump is probably just saying that, honestly, what he probably meant is Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about the country or the Republican Party or Christians. He just wants to win this election. And he doesn't care if you vote again afterwards because he knows he can only run one more time.
Well, that's basically what I said, only you put tons of other stuff in there. Like he's saying, just vote this time right now. I don't care what you do afterwards. There's a conspiracy, I don't think you can even handle that. I can argue way better against Trump than you have, though. But I'm not going to do that right now.
Okay. Why? Because he flies in airplanes?
No. It's that he's completely subservient to a foreign state that is not our friend.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
This one coming in from Jonathan. Got that. Lasonic says, Destiny, do you support Trump on OP? Warp speed? I don't
Operation Warp Speed.
Okay.
You support it? You support Trump on Operation Warp Speed, Destiny?
Yeah, it's probably one of the only good things he ever did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, and I'm like, that's one of the biggest arguments against him. And then the Zionist thing, you're probably like, oh yeah, he's so good. Israel's such a good. I'm like, that's one of the biggest things against him. So my two major things are something that you think are like the best things about him. So it's pretty.
No, I don't really support his actions towards Israel either. I think he's handled that pretty poorly. Why did so many Jews take the jab if the jab was like a fucking psyop to like destroy the West or whatever?
Oh, good question. I don't know. Because they're completely the Israeli propaganda is out of this world.
Okay.
Wait,
just curious. Wait, does Russia do propaganda at all in the United States?
Yeah, of course.
More or less in Israel, would you say?
Oh, I don't know. I've never been to either state. I just know that notoriously Israel has had a big hand in like intel propaganda, admittedly.
Okay.
This one coming in from Alex Harden says, Witsit, you stated, quote, I don't listen to politicians' statements, unquote, regarding Trump's statements, but your gun argument relies on Kamala's past statements. How can you reconcile this?
Yeah. The context obviously is like when they say that they're going to do something positive for you. And like my actual position is that it's two wings to the same bird. All of them always talk a good game based on whatever people want to hear at the time. And then it's like, oh, the other side stopped me. And they never really do anything. They always kick the can down the road, progressively get us further and further away from the Constitution, move the left further to the left, move the right further to the left. That's my actual position. But I'm saying if someone's telling you that they're running on the idea of taking your guns, that's just, I look at politics this way, to sum it up. Like, even if it's all political theater and presidents are selected, not elected or whatever, and I actually lean that way, the principle that they run upon, meaning that the people in the country are agreeing to certain principles, is extremely important. And when the majority of a country agree to give up their weapons or agree to open up their borders, these are major problems. To not defend their children, to pass laws like they have in California where your child can transition but hide it from the parents. When you start sexualizing children, hurting children, opening your borders, not defending yourself with weapons, we're talking about major collapse. Even if it's just that people agree with that principle, whatever the people agree with, the government will do that and some. So that's why I do still think it has importance.
You got it. This one from RT16 says, Witsit, do you also think the 2000 Bush-Gore election was stolen? Gore was ahead during that one, but lost his lead in the last few moments. Same?
I've seen a pretty compelling documentary from back in the day where they were like looking at some of the ballots that were thrown away and stuff, but I don't really know. Like I said, my actual position is somewhat conspiratorial. I think that very powerful people select who they want to be president. But even if that's not the case, they select the two candidates, right? All you have to do is just look who's funding both sides. And it's always the same party funding both sides. And both sides can't agree on the color of grass, but they can all agree that we should be subservient to the foreign state that doesn't even have to identify as a foreign state. So
David says, Witsit, how can you support Trump when he knowingly spreads the lie that the earth is a spinning globe?
I made it pretty clear that I don't technically support Trump as much as if the question is who's better for America, Trump or Kamala, it's obviously Trump. And I just explained my position, although obviously you sent that before I did. I think that the amount of ground the people are willing to yield to the government is extremely important. It's extremely important. And if you continue to yield and yield and yield, you will no longer have what you call freedom, even if it's all political theater. And so, yeah, obviously the earth is a complicated subject that I think that's probably someone trying to poison the well again. But
Are
yeah,
you worried that
anyway.
Trump seems to support Israel and the Jews so much more than the left does?
That is the biggest curveball of this whole situation right now is that the only kind of pushback, but it's not proper pushback even from the left. Yeah, my biggest critique for sure is like the crown of Messiah, the Israeli Heritage Foundation menorah, calling him the Prince of Peace, naming the Heights actor and printing them on their coin, him moving the embassy to Jerusalem, him saying that they used to control Congress, now they don't, but he's going to fix it. These are the major valid critiques of Trump, is how he's empowering a foreign state that has consistently not been our friend. So yeah, I would say, yeah, I'm absolutely worried about how staunchly he's in bed with Israel.
Wouldn't we say that
This-
if we really truly believe that there was like some kind of huge influence of Jewish people when it comes to like the 64 Immigration Act or doing other things that they can to kind of undermine the position that white people might have in this country, that actually stopping our reliance or our support of that foreign country that's undermining our white people in the United States, shouldn't that be the number one priority? Wouldn't that mean that Donald Trump would be the worst president from a Jewish conspiracy standpoint when Donald Trump did their bidding to do warp speed, when he did their bidding by recognizing the moving of the embassy, and when he does their bidding by saying that he'll support them more than like any other politician would?
They control both sides, brother.
Yeah, but what about all of the protests and everything that were happening in the United States that were in colleges trying to say that we should disavow Israel, that we shouldn't fund them or support them anymore in all the colleges? Like, weren't those all
They were
leftists?
bad actors. They were bad
All
actors.
of those were bad actors?
Yeah, like some people were just misguided, but because of college propaganda. But yeah, they're bad actors to actually make the valid critique of Israel look like some caricature of leftists, people that hate the Bible. And the truth is that the valid critique of him is, the same thing JFK said.
Do you think that
So-
Israel intentionally hit the USS Liberty in 67?
I think that they knew what it was and they had seen them committing war crimes, but we don't have to get into it. What actually happened?
But when people say that,
All I
but
do
just to
know-
be clear though, when people say that Israel stole nuclear secrets from the United States to start their nuclear program, that's not real, right? Because nuclear weapons aren't real?
Yeah, like I think that there are crazy weapons, but I don't believe in the specifics of the history of nuclear bombs that we were told. No, I don't know what they did or didn't steal. But what I do know is that JFK said that the ADL has to register as a foreign entity, and that means they'd have to reveal who funds them. And then immediately JFK got killed, and they never did that. And they get a pass to fund both sides and brag about how 98% of the politicians they fund are the ones that win. I know that they tapped our in every single call domestically before the Patriot Act. I know that they were involved with prior knowledge of 9/11. It's not a conspiracy. Israel has consistently subverted the U.S. and put their goals over ours and got us in wars for them. So I don't like them at all. I think people should definitely call them out and not be crazy about it.
This one coming in from, do appreciate it, David or Forte says, we changed the system so we're not left with 2 poor choices every 4 years as options. Thoughts?
I don't, no strong feeling.
Yeah, I think it's all scripted, man. So that's my actual. I think it's political theater.
This one from David John says 30 knots in north, 4 in south. If you know, you know. What is this? Do I want to know what this means?
What do you say?
They said 30 knots in north, 4 in south. Is this some sort of sick innuendo? What does this mean?
There's a race of sailboats and their top speed is roughly 30 knots. And in the north, that's how fast they go. When they go to the south, they suddenly go 4 knots. And the idea is that it's actually not symmetrical like the sphere predicts. It's a longer distance. So speed equals distance over time. Since they're actually going a greater distance, but thinks it's smaller, then they look at the time, they're getting a shorter speed. In a race, they go significantly slower than they actually can in the south. And the south's consistently different than the north. I can't believe someone tried to set me up to have to explain all that.
This one from Alexander Wynn says, I have 2 questions. For one, Congress has already made laws regarding machine guns or explosives. Are those illegal? And second, when did Kamala say, quote, mandatory gun buybacks? I think they're asking for a date.
I think it's 2020. And I think that any infringement, I mean, people will consider this an extreme position, but the idea is that you can go against the government. Obviously, the world is so sunken in depravity and degeneracy at this point. Can you really trust people with crazy weapons? You know, maybe not. But yeah, it says shall make no law. So I don't know. I mean, it is.
To be
what
clear,
is.
it doesn't say that at all. It says shall not be infringed, but
This one from
Congress.
Jonathan Gendler
Yeah,
says,
that's actually First Amendment wording.
which
They
is
say,
another one
quote-
Donald Trump's not a big fan of. But yeah,
I actually think there's valid critique about that as well. Yeah. Like
quote,
that American-
Congress shall make no law, unquote, does not appear in the Second Amendment. Witsit is mixing up constitutional texts. That was from
That's right,
Jonathan Gendler.
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it very specifically says that only Congress can make laws. So we're going to get actually technical. Every bench trial is illegal because you're allowed to be in front of a jury, and every single law passed by the government, like to these national regulations, all of these federal regulations that they pass without the Congress involved is blatantly unconstitutional. It's supposed to go through Congress for there to be any type of law. The executive branch passing laws is unconstitutional. So that's implied when it comes to infringing upon the Second Amendment.
so to be clear, absolutely nothing that was said there is true. Congress passes laws, but those laws then end up boiling down into regulations that come from the federal government. In order for the executive body to execute on those laws, Congress will charge the executive with an office. They'll create an office. The executive can nominate the head. The Senate confirms, and then the executive is allowed to create rules and regulations based off of those laws. It's called statutory interpretation. It's literally the only way the government can function.
No, but actually, they pass these quote unquote interpretations, and they end up being overturned for say being facially invalid, which means it's constitutionally invalid all the time. And there are thousands of them, and they don't even get overturned until someone
I have
gets
no
charged.
idea. I don't
underneath
even
it.
know what you just said. What they pass something a facially interpretation? What are we saying?
Facially invalid. So you're saying that they interpret the statutes to pass laws? No, they don't interpret statutes. They just make up rules such as the national park regulation about, free speech zones. And then you have to be charged underneath it and then challenge it as being facially invalid, which means constitutionally or unconstitutional on its face. And then it will be overturned. So long story short, there are all kinds of rules and laws that are enforced by taking you to jail that have not gone through the proper constitutional parameters, and they don't get overturned until you challenge them. If anyone wants to support that, they can. I totally don't support that. It's totalitarian, and that's ridiculous.
Wait, do you think that the executive branch is allowed to make rules and regulations in order to enforce the laws passed by Congress?
I think that Congress is supposed to make the laws, and there shouldn't be any type of leeway with just making up all kinds of different ideas until you get checked. So it's pretty simple.
Why would
That's
we
what I
even
think.
need it if there was absolutely no interpretation whatsoever? Why would we even need an executive branch? Why wouldn't the legislature just enforce the laws then?
You understand the courts are the ones that are supposed to make interpretations. Did you not know that?
What do you think statutory interpretation means?
Well, you're talking about the executive branch making interpretations within statutes to make their own rules. No, the courts make interpretations.
The courts make interpretations to
look,
determine if the
I'm not
rule that was
surprised-
made. No, you don't understand anything about the government, okay? When the executive
Okay.
branch creates a rule or regulation based off of a law from Congress, so the executive branch is doing that. The only time the court comes into play is when the judicial needs to review to make sure that the rule or regulation that the executive branch created is comporting with the law that Congress passed. The judiciary does not create rules or regulations. In fact,
that's
that's one of the
what
biggest
was-
arguments
that was my
against
point.
legislating from the. That wasn't your point. You don't know how any of these branches even work.
That literally was my point. My point is that the executive branch can just make unconstitutional laws, and that they aren't
The
even
executive
checked
branch
until-
can't make laws. That statement means nothing.
Okay,
you can't make
whenever
you can't make a law.
Whenever you call it a regulation and then put someone in jail for breaking it, then you can call it a law. I
No,
don't
you
care if
can't
wanna
call it a law. Regulations come from statutes or comes from laws. Executive anything, whether
yeah.
you're talking. Okay, my bad.
Okay, so what about what statute do free speech zones come from?
I don't even know what a free speech zone is. What are you even referring to there?
So you're making up this is a little trick they did where they call things rules or regulations, and then they can just take you to jail for them. So
What is a free speech zone? What does that mean? What are you referring to
in the
there?
national park, in NPR, national park regulations, there's a free speech zones. They first were called First Amendment areas, or now they're called demonstration areas. They've changed it. It was overturned in 2010 for being constitutionally or unconstitutional, and it's still unconstitutional. The point is that in 2010 it was overturned because it just basically quotes the First Amendment and says it's prohibited unless it's in an approved area that's up to the sole jurisdiction of the supervisor, the superintendent. right? Which is just unfettered discretion. It's overly broad. It's completely unconstitutional. It was overturned in 2010, and it stayed on the books for a decade, completely violating people's First Amendment until someone got arrested underneath it and then challenged it, and then it was overturned. And that's my point. That's not coming from some existing statute. That's the government overreaching their authority, taking people to jail, violating their First Amendment until someone has the balls to challenge it constitutionally. It happened in 2010. It's still unconstitutional because I got tried under that same exact law and got arrested for that same exact thing, for not speaking in a little zone. And America's the free speech zone. So anyway, this is a totally different topic,
Okay.
but
So
government's out of control.
When Congress passes a law or creates an office for the presidency, it's up to that office, based on what Congress says, to create rules and regulations based on the statutes that pass from Congress. Now, it could be that we feel like something in the executive branch that's been created doesn't comport with the language or doesn't comport with the law that Congress meant to pass. In that case, then you go to the court and then you challenge it. In some cases, you'll be wrong. In some cases, you could be correct. If it's something that gets overturned, then that's good. That means you challenge something and the executive did overstep, or they did do something incorrectly. But that doesn't mean that all rules and all regulations are bad. The executive branch, by definition, is creating rules and regulations based off the statutes that come from the legislature. That's the whole point. Being able to point to the fact that the executive, there are times when the Congress does things. There are times when Congress does things that the judiciary says, I'm sorry, that's unconstitutional. There are times when the judiciary does things that the judiciary says is unconstitutional. That's why we get things like Dobbs that overturned Roe v. Wade. That's why we get things, overturning of older Supreme Court cases. Yes, that happens sometimes. Are you going to say that? Are you going to say that the Supreme Court is unconstitutional because the Supreme Court has overturned the Supreme Court?
No, what I'm saying is very simple to wrap this up. I don't agree with the government getting to run unchecked, making rules and regulations and putting people in jail.
You're already failing. You just said it's unchecked, but it's literally checked. If somebody challenges it in the court and the court does a statutory interpretation that flies in the face of what the executive does.
So what happened for the 10 years that people were arrested until someone actually challenged it, which means they had to use their primary defense in an actual case they could go to jail to take the risk of challenging it constitutionally. So you're saying that for 10 years, they ran unchecked. That's my point.
They didn't run unchecked. What's the alternative? What do you do? What's the alternative? Yes, you check it in the courts. Yes.
That Congress makes laws.
They do.
And then those laws can be checked. The government doesn't get to make and enforce rules. That's ridiculous. How do you not see the problem with that? Anyway, we can disagree.
Okay, making and enforcing rules is definitionally what the executive branch does, but okay.
They're enforcing the law. That's what they're supposed to do.
They're making rules based off of statutes passed. Yeah, so go, no, we don't do civics yet.
Now we get it. You're totalitarian.
Positively Diverse Podcast says, Destiny, do you believe someone who values going pew-pew over keeping the Constitution intact disqualifies themselves from having a valued view on president? On the president.
I like the Constitution.
This one from David John says, Witsit thinks Trump is the Antichrist and still, let's see, is this true, Witsit?
No. Although okay. I said I'm not going to claim I know for a fact he's not or anything. But no, I don't think he is. I actually don't think he is. I think Revelation says the bottomless pit comes. I think that Trump could be a wolf in sheep's clothing. I think that he didn't really keep his word with a lot of the promises. I think he is extremely subservient to Israel. I think these are the major things. I think that his Operation Warp Speed, how he still defends and promotes that to this day. These are the major critiques. But, talking about how he thought the election was stolen, it was sketchy. That's not a good one. How we talked about everything that makes him obviously the better option. It's not even close. He wants to defend America, put America first, bring manufacturing back here, stop inflation, help the prices, bring domestic workforce back here, continue to take resources here locally instead of cutting, banning it, costing us crazy money. He has way better foreign policy typically overall, and he wants to protect the children, protect men from beating up women, pretending to be women. Many of these things is a no-brainer. The other side has lost the plot. So that's my position.
Canadian Couch says, Witsit, who is Q? What is the plan? As long as this is not too naughty. Witsit, what is Q?
It's a QAnon
good
thing.
question. Yeah, it's the idea that Trump was approached by the military in 2014. And they said, look, man, the government's getting out of control, and we're going to have to weed them out unless you'll be president. And he agreed to save the day, and he's working with an intel and military operation behind the scenes with the white hats, getting all the bad guys. And I will say there's a Q board, and it does seem to actually be directly tied to intelligence within the government. And I think it's similar to Operation Trust from the Bolsheviks, where they kind of get you to believe that they're coming to save you. But who knows? It's just interesting. I don't know. It's an interesting rabbit hole. There's a lot of truth in there. Points out a lot of corruption, either a troll or Operation Trust 2.0. I don't buy it. Some people do. Some people do.
This one from Alex says, Witsit, have you not changed your mind on flat Earth at all after getting destroyed by Professor Dave? Oh my goodness.
It's such a cope, and I hope people just go watch it. Yeah, this dude said that I was wrong about this. Watch. So you see how this is turning one way? Well, if you're on the other side, it's turning the opposite way, right? He said that wasn't true. Like if you draw a circle on a window, you'll see it from the opposite. If you're outside the window, you'll see it going the opposite way. Or if a bicycle spins and you're in a garage on both sides, you'll see it spinning the opposite way, even though it's only. He said that wasn't true for an hour and a half. And like, if you watch that debate, you know, you be the judge.
This one from
totally
Will Loster says, why are we listening to a guy? Let's see. They say, I don't want to listen to Witsit. Let's see. Jonathan Gettler says, Witsit, are there let's see. Kyle Stanley says, what's Witsit's response to the Republicans shooting down the border bill for Trump? This is undisputed fact. And why rely on 4-year-old edited quotes instead of Kamala's position as of yesterday?
Okay. I immediately disavowed that. Right. But both sides do it. They make like tactical decisions to give them a benefit in the upcoming election as opposed to solely prioritizing what's best for the country. And that's what the Democrats did in that situation until the last minute. They want to pretend they want to help with the border when they stonewalled it the entire time. Both sides do this. This is why I think politics is just disgusting and it's two wings of the same bird. And you say as to what Kamala said yesterday, Kamala hasn't even publicly fielded questions from the media yet, 2 weeks after supposedly being named the upcoming presidential candidate.
Wait,
So
why play into their game? I don't understand. If all of this is a show and a production, if Kamala hasn't answered questions, that's intentional. Why even play into the game of like, I can't believe she didn't answer? We know why. It's because the media is controlling it all, or whoever's controlling the Jews or whatever are controlling it all, right?
But playing to it, what I'm just saying is that like what she's on the record saying when she was running for president is really bad. And I explained my position is that even if this is all theater, when they get the public to agree to certain things, that's very important. What we actually want, and they need our compliance, right? Because like if we agree to give up our guns, then the government could take over. If we don't, they can't. These are important based on agreement, tacit agreement, compliance, consent, and that's why even if it is all theater, it's still important that people voice what's right, right? And that's representing freedom and defending women and children, etc.
This one coming in from Kyle Stanley says, what is Witsit's response to the Republicans shooting down the border bill for Trump? This is undisputed fact.
You just read this one?
Why? No, I thought so. Okay. Yeah, this last one from, well, second last. Ozzy and Talk says, Witsit doesn't know the IV/DV of electrostatics. Is this true, Witsit?
No. That's a coherent statement.
Good. All right. This one, last two. So, folks, please no more questions. Or I want to let these guys out. It's been about 2 hours. Alejandro Vallejo says, no, Witsit, that's not what Professor Dave said. How do you get to the other side of the stars, Witsit?
Oh, very quickly. So actually, just like when a plane flies over your head, it looks like it's coming up as it comes towards you and like it's going down as it goes away. It's called perspective. Same reason railroad tracks seem to converge, flip it on its side. So when you look out over the stars, they look like they're coming down. Take a time lapse of star trails. I mean, it's very easy. Just go get a camera. You will see that they're out in front of you and they look like they spin one way. If you looked at it from a different direction, say south, you will see them spinning the opposite way, clockwise and counterclockwise, even though all stars rotate east to west. That dude denied that concept, which you can prove. My 18-month-old can understand it by looking at a window while I draw on it for an hour and a half. That was the point. That people are coping, claiming he won. Whatever. Watch it yourself.
Juicy to say the least. Want to say, folks, if you haven't yet, you check out our guest links in the description box. We appreciate Destiny. We appreciate Austin. The guests are the lifeblood of this channel. It just doesn't exist without our guests. So we appreciate them. Check out their links. Even if you disagree, there's something to learning their idea straight from the horse's mouth, you can say, if you're going to disagree with it in order to rebut it. So I want to say thanks to our guests. It's been a true pleasure. And with that, folks, thanks for tuning in. I'll be back in just a moment with a short post-credit scene to say hello. But with that, thank you very much, Stephen and Austin. It's been a true pleasure to have you here tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Peace.
Do you feel like it was even worth talking to that guy? I like talking to people like this who are insane who support Trump and have all the same Trump lines and then asking them about like flat earth and shit. Because then it makes, I want you conservatives to feel fucking crazy, okay?